した瞬間から始まります。ということで、スタッフの皆様よろしくお願いします。はい。
All right, looks
で
like
は、
we're about to
皆
get
さんの
started.
準備よ
So,
ろしいでしょうか。
this is new
はい。
Pokemon Snap. If you're here to see some cute
はい。
Pokemon,
じゃ
you
あ、
will
準
not
備
be
できてるという
disappointed.
ことで、やってい
If you're
きたい
here to
と
see
思います。
some
はい。
good photography, you will also not be
3、
disappointed.
1、
These
スター
guys
トです。
are top of their game, so
よろし
we
くお
will
願
get to
いし
that
ま
soon.
す。
よろしくお願いします。では、
Um,
早速こ
so
のゲー
again,
ムの
new
紹
Pokemon
介をさ
Snap.
せていただきたいと
It
思いま
is
す。
a bit of an on-rail shooter.
1999
So
年に
the
発
time
売
save
され、任
isn't your
天堂で開
typical
発されたポケ
we'll
モンスナップの22年ぶりとなる
we'll
新
be
作に
doing
なります。どういうゲー
advanced
ム
tech
か
to
と言い
save
ますと、
time. It's
ポ
going to
ケ
be a
モン
lot
たちが
more
総集
picture
編を進めてい
optimization,
っていき、
which we'll
各
get
地
into
の地
soon.
方に住む
First of all,
ポケ
I'll
モン
introduce
たちを
myself.
調査し
Hi,
ていこうとい
I'm
う
Quo.
ゲームですね。
I
木が生い茂るジャング
I've
ルの
played this
中
game a
を軽快
lot.
に走ることができ、
I
た
think
び
I
た
have
び
like
異なるキャ
800
ラクターの
something
登場
hours
が
in my
ある
main
この
profile.
エンティル地
At
方
one
で、
point, I
数
was
々の自然が
fourth
残
place
され
for
て
high
いて、
score.
そこに暮らすポケモンの生態やその生
And
き
I
方
also
についてはまだ
did
未知なところ
speedruns.
が多いです。
I think I'm like seventh or something for
それ
runs.
ではね、
I
この
focused a lot more on
表
high
の方
score.
から、
But I know
ま
this
ず
game a
主要
lot.
人物、
I
ハッ
was
シュ博
one of the
士の
main
査定、
contributors to when the route was
主
starting,
要人物、鏡博士が出
and
すよ
making
うにな
sure
りまし
all the
た。
progression points were
では
actually
お
lined
願い
up.
します。
So it made
で
sense.
この子、鏡博士、ここレンキル地方でポケ
So I
モン
know
を
what
育
I'm
て
talking
る
about,
上
is
で
what I'm
役
trying
立
to
つ
say.
からは、キャプテンベクトル
I'm
と
going to
冒
be
険家
nerding
の
out
シ
about
ャ
this
ー
game
ク
for the next 3 hours
が
for you
解き
guys.
明かすための
So
挑戦をし
hopefully
ています。
you guys will enjoy.
隣の女性はリプ
Last
ル
point
で、
about me.
で、博
I
士
don't
の
want to
一
make
番
this
好
all
きな
about
ポ
me,
ケモ
but
ン
this
こ
one
れ
is
ね、
important.
ここで連
I
打
am
をして、
French.
下で
When I read the runner's
こう
names,
変わって
it
くる
will
の
have a
で、
French
ここに
accent.
ついていきまし
If
ょう。
I
このゲームめちゃ
try to
くち
do
ゃ
it in
簡単な
English,
記
it's
述です
not
が、
going to sound
しっ
right.
かり
So
聞き
just
ながら連打ありがとうご
we'll
ざい
run
ます。
with
これち
that.
ょっと見てね、ちょっと
Anyways,
でも
let's get
連打ボ
started.
タンを消え消
So
さ
we
ない
have
と
two
と
runners
思っ
here.
たんですけ
On
ど、
the
まだまだ未熟でございます。すいません。はい、
I
ここでまず
don't
ね、
know which
鏡博
one's
士の方から
which
リ
is
サ
the
ーチカメ
problem.
ラというものをもらったの
I'm
で、
gonna
ここ
go with
で、
left and
写
right.
真撮影のチュートリアル
So
を
on the left,
始めて
we
い
have
こうと
Calulio.
思います。
Um,
で、この
and
間にです
they
ね、
are
ゲーム
if
の説明という
you
ものを説
know
明させてい
one
ただきます。
Japanese Pokemon
で
runner
はで
for
す
like
ね、
modern
今
games,
このよ
it
うに
is
ですね、
probably
カメ
them.
ラの撮影の、
They
説明
have
をね、していただい
first
て
of
お
all
り
they
ます
have the
ので、
record
我
in
々
this
こ
game.
んなことはもう
They
ご存
came
知
in,
です
they
ので、こ
ran,
の塊のですね、
a
撮
couple
影を
months
して
after
み
the game
ます
came
と、
up.
この方に 80% と
Posted
い
a
うも
run,
のは、
was pretty good,
いち早く、エンディングを見るというのが、目標になります。エンディング
and
を見る
then
ために
disappeared
何を
for
す
a
る
couple
かと言いま
months,
す
and
と、
then came back
ま
and
ず
just started
ポケモンの写
sweeping,
真を
got the
撮
any%
影、
record, got the all
します。
Pokemon record,
ポケモンの写
and
真
just,
を撮影し
started
て、点数をつけ
going
てい
off
く
on
という
that.
のが、一つのルールですね。
Also ran Sword and Shield,
で、
was the
そこ
record
で、
holder for the
記録
Japanese
を、
times for
撮影
a
を
pretty
終
long
え
time.
まして、
I'm just looking at their page now, and
まあ、
is
こんな感
second
じで
place
ざ
in
っく
most
り言うと、
things,
コースの一番
including
上
the
に上
English
げてい
times,
き、
so
そう
second
ですね、
place in
ポイント
English
を
as
ゲッ
well.
トする
So
ということが目標にな
definitely
り
up there
ま
for
す。
Sword and Shield, and then
では、
ran
写真撮影を
Brilliant
している
Diamond
こ
more
の、
recently as
鏡
well.
博士の
So
評価のチュートリアル
well
に
versed
な
in
ります。
Pokemon, has the record in this game.
鏡博士の評価は、
Uh,
64番というよう
great
に、
runner all around.
各
No
自、一種類の
no
ポケ
weak
モンにつ
points
き
it
1枚
seems
出してま
here.
すね。
And then
では、
on the
こち
right
らは
we
で
have
すね、か
Kujiya,
なりシステム化さ
and
れて
they
おります。
started
その
more
方が比較的一他のポケモン
on
より手っ
points
取り早く
runs.
目標
So
達
in
成
this
とい
game
う
you
評
get
価が得られ
titles
ます。
if you do certain
では、
things,
細かい説明
and
を
one
さ
of
せてい
them
た
is
だ
if
く
you
と、
get
写真を撮
500,000
る
points
方
or
を
1
選
million
ぶ
points,
向き、
etc.
時
And they
を
really
わ
focused
か
on
りやす
those
いイメージ
more
として、証明写
than
真を
anything
思い浮
else.
かべていただければと思い
Oh,
ます。
actually, no,
証
I got
明写
them
真みたいなね、
left and
写
right.
真を
So
どんどん、
Calulio's on the
こ
right,
れからこの
Kujia's
番
on the
組のため
left.
に提出していこうという感じで、
But yeah, they focus more on
進
points
めてい
runs,
きた
and
いと
they
思います。
routed it
では、
themselves. They did
撮影に使う
all
ポケ
that
モンは
research for those
015
runs
号
a
というマス
lot,
コットにな
and
り
then
ます。
more recently started
では、
getting into
64番
20%.
の015号の
Um,
となっていますね。
so their times
はい。
are
こんなと
not
ころで前回とのつながりが
like their any% 90% times isn't as optimal as
まあ、
it could
作品
be.
という
So although there's,
と
I
ころ
think, a
でよく活かしている
4-minute gap
人も多い
between
ん
the
ですけ
two
ど、
runners, it's realistically a lot smaller just because
茶葉さんの方で
90% hasn't been touched as
運営
much.
の
So
方
this
で
should
茶葉さ
still
ん
be
に
a pretty interesting
お話
race.
を聞いてもらいたいと思い
Alright,
ま
now
す。
for actual gameplay, because we're actually getting into the first level. So one of the um, one of the mechanics, unfortunately, in this game is that you actually need to get to the end of each level before progressing. There's not, if anyone knows, the first game, for example, you could quit halfway through a level. Unfortunately, that's not the case in this game. So we will be going through each level entirely the first time around, at least. Some of them we go back in
私も早速失敗しましたね。
for certain reasons, which we'll get into later. But for now, we're riding it out. So there are still a few speed mechanics in this game, as on rails as it is. So first of all, if you are looking forward, you're going at your max speed. looking left, right, or backwards, you actually slow down. Um, in some cases, it's better to look left or right because you actually drift a bit on the track. Um, there are a few places where that comes up, but, for the most part, they're gonna be looking straight in front. And then the other thing is that they don't wanna be zoomed into their camera because that also slows you down. So whenever they set up a shot, they'll look at the Pokemon, zoom in, take a picture, zoom out. One thing you might also notice is that they're really only taking one picture of each Pokemon, and for a couple of reasons. First of all, later they're just gonna auto select Pokemon and run it out. Um, but that also means that if they ever, like, miss a shot, there's not really a backup. So you'll see, a lot of these shots are very practiced, they're very precise, and, they need to get it right each time, or else you'll lose 45 seconds to a minute, if you don't have the points at the end. Speaking of, the reason that they need to take as many pictures as they do is because, the game revolves around points for progression. Um, I'll refer to the first game again, but, in the first game, a lot of that progression was around the amount of Pokemon you've taken pictures of. So if you take 6 Pokemon, you can enter 10, for example, or, 6 or more. And this one, it's really about points on an individual, uh, level basis. So, in the first game, you needed 40 to enter Pali. If you messed up early on, it did affect your run later. This is very individual. So we're in Florida Park. We need to get 40,000 points here. And if we get 40,000 points, that's great. And we're out of Florio, and that's, we don't need to touch the park anymore. So once we're out of here, we're good. Again, we need 40,000 points here. And there are a few caveat with points. If they ever do need to re-enter, I'll go into it more later. Because there's a lot of this, but so they need 40,000 points is the gist of it. And again, the route, we'll see them they're most likely both using the same route, for most of the courses at least. And yeah, again, they need to make sure that, each Pokemon is on point because if they miss out on the points, they'll need to re-enter, take more pictures, and that is, considerably slower than spending a few extra seconds per picture. And that might be where we'll see, a lot of the sort of more minute optimizations where, the faster you can set up and confidently take your pictures for points, the better it is, basically. Let's see what the points look like. So anywhere in the 4,000 point range usually is a good sign. We see that Grookey's a bit in the corner. Um, that's actually interesting. I'll talk about that a bit later. Just remember that Grookey picture. Cute little Bidoofs. And yeah, some shots, so for example, the Buffalon, even though it was super far away, it was still about 23-ish hundred points, which is, pretty good. You can't take, or you can't rather submit multiple pictures of the same Pokemon. Like, you can't submit 2, I don't know, Pichus, for example. So they really do need to take individual pictures. And there's some Pokemon they didn't take, for example, Comfey. Um, and mostly the reason is because there's, the whole animation of the new Pokemon appearing, little new badge, all the points appearing, etc. So you don't wanna just spam pictures basically if you wanna be optimal in your time. I did not mention this actually, that is a good question. This would be on console. I believe they're both on consoles. 90% sure at least. If you're wondering about the load times, that is probably because they would be on the digital version of the game. So digital saves time on the cartridge, and more specifically, digital if it's saved on the system's memory, not on an SD card. Saves the most time. That's not necessarily the case in all games, but pretty much standard on, all the Switch games. So whether it's this, whether it's Mario Odyssey, whether it's Breath of the Wild. Alright, we have a few text boxes to go through. Those are new from the DLC update, which makes this game a tiny bit slower as a version 2.0, but everyone plays on version 2.0,
さらに更新すれば大丈夫だと思います。
unfortunately. We'll get into that later. So now we're finally going to be able to do something other than just taking pictures. They're just going to enter a quick tutorial. From here on out, the last I think, 2 tutorials, they'll be able to just skip, so we won't actually see the 3 tutorials. Who knows? Anyways, we can just skip those, but we got apples, which means that we can now throw apples to Pokemon. One thing with this game is that it doesn't like doing multiple things at the same time. So even though they did hit the points benchmark, they're actually just going to need to re-enter and then exit the level again, just to actually trigger more cutscenes and game progression. Oh, and actually looks like on the left they might have, I didn't notice that. Oh, that's it. Okay. So the Grookey, since it was pretty off-center, I guess they didn't hit the points benchmark, so they will need to submit points. It's actually a bit of a time loss. We'll see Caro on the right keep going through while we need to go through the entire picture process on the left there.
まあ多少のねタイムロスにはなるんですけど問題ないんでね。頑張っていきます。ここではね、本作の目玉夜の撮影にこれからね向かうことになります。夜のコースではねポケモンの種類や行動が変わるだけではなく。Now there was a bit of an interesting bit with that first cutscene is that for everything else in the game, for every other progression point, they will need to re-enter and submit a picture. For the first one, you don't need to submit a picture. So we'll see them going back in and taking a new picture, just like Kujia did just now. For everything else, for the first one, you don't need to, for some reason. But anyways, we'll be going into Florio nighttime. We got scan, not apples. I'm not remembering things I need to remember. So Florio nighttime. There are, in case you haven't played this game and you're just here for the cute Pokemon, there are a lot of courses where it's daytime and nighttime. The species of Pokemon that are in there change. With some exceptions, there are a lot of, duplicates. So we'll see Bidoof, we'll see Bouffalant, we'll see, well, it appears in both. Ducklet Swanna, for example. But then there are also new ones. So Caterpie is new, Tangrowth is new, Pidgeot is new, for example, Murkrow. So there are a couple of different things here and there. And one of the more very, you wouldn't notice it unless you know it, sort of thing, for optimizations is each Pokemon has 4 different start poses. So I don't know, if they're eating an apple, that's a 2-star pose, for example. If they're just hanging out, that's a 1-star pose. If you submit the same star pose that you've already submitted, that's a tiny bit faster. So you'll see, for example, I think for Bouffalant, for example, they had submitted a 1-star, and they're submitting another 1-star just because it's a tiny bit faster. Even if maybe hitting them with an apple is another 400 points or something, they'll still submit the 1-star just to save those 2 seconds per picture. And then the other thing is that if they can help it, they'll take the same pictures that they did in the first run. So for example, in Park Day, the Bouffalant, even though it was super far away, since we can take a Bouffalant in Park Night, we're going to take a Bouffalant instead of Comfey, for example, who's a lot closer, who you can get like 4,000 points very easily. We're not going to take Comfey because they don't show up again. So we do want to save those couple seconds. Although we still do need to hit our point benchmarks, so we will be taking new pictures here and there. Torterra, Pidgeot, all the fun stuff. この先ね、もっと他のいろんなポケモンと寝れる姿、寝てる姿見れるんですけど、RTA でお見せできないのが残念です。まあ、年末年始ね、お時間ね、ある方、ぜひね、このゲーム買ってみて、RTA じゃなくても通常プレイでもね、ポケモンの Alright, now for the actual detection for what the game decides to see,
there's a small square that's going to be around the Pokemon that they're actually taking a picture of. A square serves two purposes. First of all, it tells you who you're focusing on. So in the case, actually coming up, for example, is a good thing. There's going to be a Scorbunny on a Torterra, and you want to make sure that the squares are on the Scorbunny, not the Torterra, because they already took a Torterra picture. And you don't want to take a picture that looks like a Scorbunny but is not, because you will be short on points, and that's not a good time for anyone. But yeah, so square, it shows you which Pokemon you're focusing on, very important, but also shows you what's the where's the center of the Pokemon, and that's important for some of the points. So the points are broken down basically into three categories, which is size, facing direction, and position. So the size, how big is the Pokemon in the frame? The facing direction, are they looking at you? Or in some cases, side profiles are also good. Pidgeot, for example, has a really good side profile, so whenever that picture shows up, even though it's looking to the side, it's still probably going to be 1,000 points. And then position is the other important one. So if the Pokemon's in the middle, or as the protagonist of the game, Phil, likes to say, smack dab in the middle. Thankfully, we will not be hearing that a lot. If it's in the middle, you'll get 1,000 points, or 900 plus, and you know, points do matter in this game. Last time, Kojia missed it by, I think, 600 points or something like that, which is very small. And you don't want to miss your points benchmarks, basically. But looks like they actually caught up pretty well. They're not a couple seconds behind. We are pretty close right now. Jeez. So yeah, they made the points benchmark. Caro made the points benchmark by 65 points. So you know, not necessarily playing it safe for the race. These are the things that will make it interesting. No, just misses it by 1,500 points. Alright, so they'll both be watching the cutscene. Actually, no. Oh. So, in most cases, I'm lying to you guys again. So in most cases, Kujia would need to re-enter to take another picture, but the progression for the start of the game is sort of more awkward than the rest, where the next level is going to get unlocked anyways. They're going to go in there, and they're going to take a picture of the first Illumina Pokemon. I should probably talk about the story. Haven't been doing that. And then the next progression point happens where you need enough points, but you need to enter a level anyways. So they're going to enter a level and submit a picture, and then they'll make the points benchmark. So we're fine. No one's going to be behind, which is good. As far as story purposes go, the professor mentioned last time that there's like these flowers. They glow. They illuminate. They're called crystal blooms. That's it. And they'll talk about the Illumina Pokemon. And he says there are 4 Illumina Pokemon. So remember the number 4. It's going to come up again. And here we see a pretty chunky Meganium. He's a good boy. Unfortunately, the boss levels, as far as the run goes, are a bit underwhelming, since most of the time it's just, you know, 2 minutes of looking in front, other than the maybe 4 seconds you take to look to the side and take a picture, and then look back in front. Very interesting. So you saw Caro go and it basically just took a picture of the Meganium butt. That's going to come up again later. But they do need to take a picture after it sniffs the bloom and where it goes like into a full like Illumina state. It sort of starts glowing. For later ones, we can actually control that when we get the Illumina orbs, which we'll get the item later. But for now, it just has to sniff the flower, and that's it for this one. Now, the reason that they zoom in is actually to get a bad picture. Here, you do not need any points. You need 1 point, which means you just need a picture. Because I think the lowest you can get on a picture is like 200 points. And then for any Illumina Pokemon or legendary Pokemon, you get an extra 1,000 points. So, like, absolute worst case for this picture, you'll get 1,200 points. You cannot get any less. But they're actually going to come back here because to progress, or rather, Kyoria will come back here. To progress, you need to submit another picture. For anything else, whenever we need to come back, we will need to submit a picture. So they'll come back here because the loading time is actually a bit shorter for this course than it is for other courses. So they'll come back here and take another picture of Meganium. And if it's the same start pose, the picture will need to be worth more points for them to be able to progress. So you actually need to get points to progress when you re-enter levels. So it's really important that they get a bad picture here, so that the second time around, if they happen to get the same star pose, so in this case it's a 2-star picture, I believe. If they do get another 2-star picture, no, it's a 1-star picture. If they get another 1-star picture, I'm being made a liar, it needs to be worth more points. If they get a 2-star picture, they're fine, because you'll get points anyways. But that was a big issue with progression after a while, or this level in particular. So yeah, on the left, Kuja gets a 2-star, but they'll actually need to go back to Florio Park to get probably Scorbunny, because Scorbunny's right at the start, and make sure they get points from that. But yeah, so one thing that happened a couple months ago, I briefly mentioned it earlier, but this game did get an update, update 2.0, and then introduced 3 DLC courses. So we're actually not going to see them, unfortunately, but they are there. Give a few new research titles, so there's like, I don't know, 10 seconds more of text boxes to mash through. And the last thing, which is the most important thing, and also the least convenient thing, is that the game became a lot more random. Whenever you entered a course, it sort of acted like a set seed, where whenever you enter a course, let's say Forest, for example, the seasons are random. So if you enter Forest, you enter an area, and it's one of 4 random seasons. Sorry, 4 random seasons. And before the update, it would always be summer. So no matter what you enter, it's always summer. After the update, okay, technically it should be anything, but since it's level 1, whatever. After the update, it is random which season you'll get, right? And that actually affected Meganium, because before we could take whatever we wanted for the first picture, because the second picture is always going to be 1-star. So you take whatever you want for the first picture, second picture is 1-star, you're good to go. But in this case, since it is random, they do take the bad picture of Meganium, so they can get a better picture on the second go around if it is the same star pose as the first one. That also affected a few other pictures. So I'm thinking of Whalmer, for example, which would always do a specific pose at a specific time that's worth 900 points. But now it's actually random, the timing, so you'll lose 400 points for that, because now its pose points is 500 instead of 900, for example. So we get a pretty cute sleeping dog here. Now, one mistake that like everyone goes through at least once, there's an Eevee that's jumping on top of Meganium, and if you zoom in and you get Eevee like perfectly centered, it's going to focus on Eevee instead of Meganium. But then when you submit it to Professor Mirror, he's like, this Eevee's way too far away. It doesn't count. And then you need to go back in and get Meganium again. And then we see Scorbunny on the left. So he scans it for a 2-star picture. First time around, he got a 1-star. Now he needs to get a 2-star. And then submit that. Alright, few more cutscenes. And we're going to be out of Florio Park pretty soon. So here we get introduced to Todd Snap. So a little nostalgia trick back to the first game. So Todd's all grown up. He still has his DSLR. And he's still taking pictures of Pokemon. And we also get introduced to Phil, which is for story purposes, he does nothing. The theory is just that he's put in the game because, they have Rita, who's, a young girl, so the young girls can have, like, a character that they like, and then they needed someone for the young boys, but Phil's just useless. He doesn't do anything. Yeah, so whenever they submit the points, if they don't have enough points, they will need to go back in to get another picture. And that usually costs 45 seconds upwards. So not ideal. So yeah, the first course, you don't need to play safe. I did forget that you had to get things after the Illumina Pokemon, so I guess Carolio probably wasn't playing it as safe as or as risky as I thought he was, because he did only make that point benchmark by 65 points. We'll see how the rest goes, if they take any safety pictures or if they take longer time to set up shots for better points. Should be pretty interesting. But again, if you're here for the cute Pokemon, you're good to go. But yeah, especially if you don't run the game and you're like, how do I watch this? How do I enjoy it? One thing that they are very good on and very much, I was about to say on point, but I really hate bad puns, so I'm not going to go there. Is, again, they will only be taking one picture of each Pokemon, and that picture needs to be good, and all their pictures need to be on point, or else, again, they will lose time. Both of these runners are very strong in their games, so I don't think we'll see too many flubs. But yeah, they know what they're doing. Every shot is very much practiced, it's precise, and they need to get it on the first try because generally there's no second try. No, a lot of the times the shots are pretty they're not too tough. They're generally pretty standard and you can see them pretty easily, basically. But in some cases, whenever like Pokemon need to be lured, for example, so that Apom, if he's too close to you, he's going to be in the grass. You won't be able to see him. But if you lure him wrong, he'll be facing away. So I'm not actually sure how good that picture from Cavalier is going to be. We'll see what Kushia does. But yeah, again, most of them pretty standard. Some of them can get a bit tougher. Little pick out here. Interesting. Alright, so the Japanese players actually have a bit different strats than most of the English players. I guess one of them is with that Apom, they lure it away and then closer. Sort of like a 7 shape so that he's not close to the grass and facing you. Kuji actually seems to do that a bit better there, so hopefully he'll be able to reap the benefit of better points. Now, one thing with this game, and this is important in runs, but a lot more important in high score, is that, if you're playing casually, you can take a picture zoomed out or zoomed in. So there's like two, I don't know, modes if you want, of like how close you want the picture to be. But you can actually take a picture while the camera's zooming. So it's called a half zoom. And that makes a lot of shots a lot more difficult. So for a few shots we'll see here and there, they might go for half zooms. I've noticed, I think on Florgris, in the first level they did it. So they'll go for that here and there. depending on the picture, because you do want good size, but if it's, super zoomed in and you're cutting off some of the Pokemon, you'll actually lose points on size. But again, if you're super far away, you'll also lose points on size. Ooh, that was a risky shot. Oh no, he's losing the butterfly. Okay. So you generally do want to take the first butterfly there. He was actually facing him really well, which was a good shot, but then stopped cooperating. There are background points in this game, so you'll get, generally, we'll call them other points. So either for other Pokemon or for background points. No, don't miss Quagsire. All right, we'll just take the picture there. So yeah, either background points or other points. Crystalblooms are worth a lot for background points, and then some certain, areas of the game count for background points. So in the first level, there was the Beaver Dam with the Bidoof that they were building. In the second level, in this one, the waterfalls at the end count for background points. So if you're looking for the point score, it's the last one. The before last one is other Pokemon. If there's, other Pokemon hanging in the shop, we'll see one with Liepard here. And then the last one is background points, which I guess we'll also see with Liepard because the waterfall's in the background. Let's see this. Yeah, so 42 other Pokemon, 400 background. Yeah, so even with that Beautyfly that was facing the wrong direction, it was still about 4,500 just because of the waterfall, and those points are really good, basically. Yeah, looks like we're making it to level 2 on the right side. Alright, so one thing about points is that for research levels, which is the way that we need to progress, so here we need 35,000 points to progress. Or is it 30,000? Anyways, need a certain number of points to progress, 35,000, that is it. It doesn't matter what you have in your photo decks. So if you submit, so for Magikarp, for example, they submitted a 1-star picture earlier. If they submit another 1-star picture that's worth more points, it's a tiny bit faster to choose the worst one, because the points will get saved for this level. But if you submit the new one, there's a 2-second animation where the picture gets dropped into your photo page. So to avoid that, they just keep the worst one. So if you see them ever picking the worst picture, overall, your points don't matter. Your points only matter in the course. And then better points do get applied to the actual course. Alright, so Jungle Knight now. Now for every time... One sec. Yes, for every time we go to a night course, there is going to be a shining Crystabloom that we need to take a picture of. Again, for progression's sake, if we don't take a picture of the Crystabloom, we won't get the Illumina orbs. So generally for the rest of the islands, there is going to be one daytime course, then one nighttime course where we get the picture, no, the bloom, and then there's going to be a third course, which generally has a split path somewhere along the lines, which we'll be taking. I think in all of them, actually. Yeah, all of them except for Florio. So first course, Train of the Day, new Illumina Orbs. Second course, we get the Illumina Orbs. Third course, we have them and use them, with one exception, which we'll get to later. There's a lot of these with one exceptions in this game, unfortunately. A lot of things to remember, not only which pictures to take. And yeah, the thing with research levels, most of the time, there's going to be either 2 or 3 research levels, and there's going to be new things that show up in later levels. We're not gonna see that too much in this game, or in this run rather, um, just because you don't need the rest to progress. Uh, you see later research levels in all Pokemon, for example, because some only show up in level 2 or level 3, so you need to actually get to level 2 or 3, to be able to go there. But yeah, for now, we'll just be going to level 2. Oh, that's really late for Pick. Interesting. Look into that. But yeah, most of the time we'll be getting to level 2, and then moving on. We're not gonna come back to courses.
ちなみにこの、古代遺跡撮影するとこれもまた新発見だと言って6秒かかるので絶対取らないようにしましょうね。
大事です。新発見だって言うけどポイントはくれません。
So for Jungle Knight, if I can remember off memory, you need 50,000 points. The nighttime courses usually only have 2 research levels, so the point benchmarks are a lot higher. So for Florio Day, you need 40,000. For Florio Night, you need 50,000. Jungle Day, 35,000. Jungle Night, 50,000. Can't remember the rest off the top of my head, but I know Snow Day, for example, 25,000. Snow Night, 40,000. So there. Ironically, one of the latest courses in the game is also the one with the lowest points threshold. So yeah, a bit more points in the nighttime versions, but there's only 2 levels, so from a casual perspective, you're not spending more time there. If anything, you're probably spending less time. Speaking of though, if people have not played this game casually yet, big recommend. In my opinion, best game of 2021. Definitely best Switch game of 2021. Although Monster Hunter fans would disagree.
あ、これいいんですね。
に回っていきますが、とりあえずクリスタフラワーは大丈夫だけど、いや、しれっとメガヤンマ失敗したな、どうしようかな。
このメガヤンマミスると結構やばいんですよね。
そう、めんどくさいんですよね。まあここではとりあえずね、ステージをクリアしなくても大丈夫です。どのみち、ここにもう一回来ることになるんで、2回目のジャングル夜で、レベルアップすることを目標に撮影はしてるんですけど、その時にメガヤンマのね、点数大事なんですけど、とりあえずこの点数自体はいかほど ?4600。まあ。でね、マッシュと。
見ました。
Not to toot my own horn here, but that Morlul shot was mine. I came up with it. It's a good picture. One thing with certain shots, specifically that Morlul shot, and other shots in other parts of the game, is that some shots have synergy with other Pokemon. That was actually a really good Arbok. Okay. Some shots have synergy with other Pokemon, so they'll for some reason, instead of like oh, interesting. So for some reason, instead of maybe, I don't know, 100 other Pokemon points, you'll get, okay, so 26 in this case, you'll get like 500. Because the Pokemon are interacting with each other in some case. That Morlul shot is one of them. But you need the face of the Pokemon. So since Carulio cut off the face, because you cut off the face, they are going to be short on points. They're going to lose a couple hundred points there. Versus Carulio did get the other Morlul in the shot, and that was like 550 other Pokemon points. So synergy shots like that, where other Pokemon are there, definitely good to get, because you get a bunch of other Pokemon points. Every shot involving Apple to the face is mean. Technically, you could hit them anywhere. Just a lot of Pokemon, they just have very large heads. And for some reason, I'm not sure why, Capcom made this game. Just talk to Bandai Namco. But a lot of the good points with poses, for some reason, more than half of the 2-star poses are after you hit a Pokemon with an apple. So, not entirely sure why they decided to go that route, but they did. So anyways, sorry. After the first trip through jungle, they get the Luna orbs, but they do need to re-enter to trigger the next part of the game to unlock more levels.
普通に、
And they do specifically need to submit a picture. So if you know runs of the first game, you don't need to submit a picture to progress. Oh wait, no, actually you do. Never mind. I'm lying. Scratch what I just said. They do need to come back, they need to submit a picture, and they need to get points. That's the other thing. So whatever they do, in this case, they actually have to because of the route, you don't get to level 2 on the first trip, you get it on the second trip. But if they did hit level 2, they would still have to submit a picture, and that picture would have to get points. So they're just making sure they're dotting all their I's and crossing all their T's here to progress through the game. Alright, so now there is a important decision to make. We'll see if they make the right one. There's a split path that opens. You can go either to Sands or to Beach. And it really is up to runner's choice. In my opinion, it's more optimal to do Sands because you save like half a second on menuing, but it really doesn't matter. So the route that I do is I do Sands, and then I do Beach, Reef, Underwater, and then I go up to Volcano, which saves like half a second, but we'll see what they do. So looks like they're going to Sands, or at least one of them. Now hopefully they both go to Sands, because commentating 2 different courses at the same time is going to be tough. So for completely personal reasons, I hope they both go to Sands. Alright, now Sands is a bit, not difficult, but stressful, because there's not a lot of backups. So if you ever miss something, there's no second try on anything. You really do need to make sure you get everything on the first try. If you end up at the end of the level and you missed something, you're sort of out of luck. So hopefully that doesn't happen, but it is something that they will need to be conscious of. Right, now there's some Pokemon, or rather, yeah, in some cases there's some Pokemon that won't want to interact with you. So the Scorpy coming up on the left, after he gets knocked out of the pile with the Mandibuzz, that's it. After he gets knocked out of the sand pile, you can't hit him with an apple. He just doesn't want to interact with an apple. Even if you throw a bunch of him, he's not going to get hurt. He's a toughie. Alright, we're feeding the Torchic for fun. Making sure our little boy's happy. Yeah, scanning the Cagna here is very important, because if you don't scan them here, they won't show up at the end. And do we want them to show up at the end? Because we need to take that picture. So, definitely something to not forget. Yeah, not too many pictures, either 8 or 9, I think, depending on your route. And even then, one of them is the Lichen Rock, that's it. Lichen Rock for 2,000 some odd points. It's a bit like you wouldn't expect it, but taking 2 bad pictures of Pokemon you've already taken pictures of is better than taking a new picture of a Pokemon you haven't taken a picture of. Just because for new Pokemon, there is that whole animation where it's like, oh, this is a new Pokemon. But for old Pokemon, there isn't. So even though, Magikarp and Lycanroc, Magikarp we've already taken a picture of, Lycanroc we're going to take a picture of later. Even though we've already taken both of those Pokemon, and they're going to be worth like 2,000 points, it's still faster than taking one picture, which is going to be worth 4,000 points. So that's just something else that they're keeping in mind. So Torchic, for example, you can get it very close to you. You can get it very happy eating an apple, but we don't take a picture of it because it only shows up once.
まあこれで撮影終了です。撮影内容のね、評価していきましょう。まあ、ちょこちょこ怪しい撮影やったけど、多分失敗するほどの撮影、タイムロするほどの失敗はしてないと思うんだよな。
なんかナックラ埋まってるんだけど。
なんか、
これ初めて
間違ってません？なんか、そのまま歩いてくるはずなんだけど。ナックラー側。
Ooh, almost misses that pincer.
微妙な位置来ましたね、今。
なんか、今回、私の方、バグってる。
もしかしてバグってる？
間違えて連打しちゃった。
そう一応このゲーム大きさ点っていうのがなんかただ映ってりゃいいわけじゃなくて、目の前に障害物があったりして、ポケモンのねサイズがかけるとその分点数下がるんで、なんか砂の中に埋まってるのちょっと普通に良くなさそうで、まあそんな話もしつつ、腕がやや欠けたサボネアが4500点、カイロスが4300点と、多分問題ないでしょう。
ポルティが3800。ちなみにデカイロスっていうギャグは私の動画のコメントについたあれなので、ちょっと今キャロさんかわいそうだなって。
Alright, looks like we're on to level 2. Looks like there's a couple of pictures that are a bit low on the left side, so hopefully we'll be able to get out of there. Okay, I think they actually took Hippowdon as a backup. Maybe they already noticed that their earlier pictures weren't great, so they did take the backup earlier, which is, in this level, is really smart. And just because, again, if you're short on points and you don't need to re-enter, that's 45 seconds to a minute that you lose. So you definitely want to spend an extra, 5-6 seconds submitting a picture instead of losing 40 seconds. And yeah, makes it by 1,000 points, so there you go. So either that might be their route. I'm not sure if they took all the same pictures that Carolio did on the right, or that was a backup. And if that was a backup, that was well played. It was a very good awareness.
2匹来たんでね、リンゴ2個あげて喜んでるシーンを撮影します。いや、これ喜んでますね。で、正面ね、サボネアがこちらにコロコロ転がってきます。そのまま止まっちゃうんですけど、これね、かわいそうなんでリンゴをあげて手前に来てもらって、これにね、リンゴぶつけて、あげて、喜んでるタイミングをね、撮
So
影します。
Cacnea, you can get apples stuck on their pegs on their head. They can have 2 apples that sort of look like buns. It's very great. Usually, I know English runners generally take the Cacneos at the end. Wonder if maybe they're just more comfortable with the early one.
でこのスコルピかわいそうなんでリンゴをあげて、慰めてね、喜んでるところを撮影します。
喜んでますね。
いや、喜んでますね、これは。でね、この先進んでいきますが、次はね、ルガルガン真夜中の姿を撮影します。まあ、ルガルガンっていうポケモンさっき昼でも撮ったんですけど、進化する時間帯で真昼、真夜中、黄昏っていう3種類のフォルムに、ね、変化するポケモンです。
まあいいや。
このゲームでは真昼と真夜中の姿が登場します。で、砂を登った先見下ろすと、
Yeah, Scorpy's out here getting bullied again. He's not having a good time in this game. Gonna be honest,
あそこのね、2匹がこの
sort of gets the short end of the stick.
初めて目が光ったタイミングが高得点なんで、これ撮影します。で、次バルジーナ撮影します。右の岩場にね、お、いいですね。で、バルジーナがいるんで、これにリンゴあげて喜んでるシーンを撮影します。いいポーズ。
喜んでますね。
で、この先ね、サンドが転がるのを見送りつつ、ルガルガンが、歩いてます。で、ここのね、ルガルガンね、めっちゃ引っかかってね、タイムロス。
Alright, in this game, I guess we haven't seen a lot of examples yet, but you can actually get own. Okay, so you can actually get blocked by Pokemon. I thought that Lycanroc was coming in to stop us, but he moved away fast enough. You can actually get blocked by Pokemon, and Lycanroc is one of the Pokemon that really does his best to block you whenever he can. So thankfully it didn't happen. And yeah, it looks like Kujiya actually did take a picture of the second Hippowdon, so I guess that Hippowdon is part of his general route. Alright, Carolio actually zooming into the crystal bloom that's glowing. Even though it is a tiny bit slower, that crystal bloom is pretty easy to miss just because you just get a random speed boost super fast. I was gonna eat the, half-second time loss to really make sure that you take that picture, which, honestly, very smart. I don't zoom in, but I spam pictures the same amount. Oh, no, alright, so we do get stopped by the lichen rock on the right side there.
で、メロディー機能で岩枠起こしつつ、サーチ機能に反応したところを撮影します。ガオーと。で、これで、とりあえずこのコースの撮影は終了ですね。今もちらっとメテノが見切れてましたけど、このメテノっていうポケモンがいろいろな色がいて、合計7色いるんですけど、これが虹のようにね、変態組んで並んで空飛んでるシーンとか観察できて可愛いんですよね。ただしこれ、並んでるメテノ観察するの条件満たすの。
Oh, there you go. He's actually going to go for backup. So for pictures, they do auto-select the pictures, but auto-select does have sort of mechanics behind it as well. So I guess earlier, he probably tried to bop the Cagnia. We saw that on the right side. Left side didn't get bopped, it just stuck to his head. But getting hit by an apple, you do get more points. So I guess he just used the second one later as a backup. For making sure that he does get those extra points.
最近、言うても点数大丈夫っしょって言っても、ズームせずに撮影してる節ある。で、4000、4070、2600。で、イワークが4600ぐらいかな。4700、よしよしよし。
It's actually really good Onyx.
とりあえず問題なさそうかな。あとは、調査レベルというか、スコア次第なんですけど。ここでは3万点取る必要があるんですけど、2万8000点ぐらい取れてればいい。
As much as I like this game, as happy as I am to commentate it, I do have a personal agenda here, and that is to have a good look at the strats that they use, so that I may improve myself.
写真を保存するを選択する側をやらかすと、5秒ぐらいロスすることになるんですかね。A 連打しつつもベースキャンプに戻る際はちゃんとベースキャンプに戻りましょうねっていう。
Alright, so again, here they don't need to hit level 2.
この配信の前に練習してる時にやらかし
But they do want to get pretty close. They want to be able to go back in level 2, or sorry, we don't need level 2. They want to go back into Sans Night to take a very fast picture and then leave. And again, it's a bit more optimal if that picture is the one that they get level 2 on. Just because, instead of taking 8 pictures in the first level and then taking the bonus picture afterwards, you can take 7 in the first level and then take the bonus picture. So they're both like 1,000 something from the goal, which is really good. That's what you want. Because pretty much whatever picture, as long as it's in the middle, you're still going to get like 1,800 points, something like that. 2,000, there you go.
で、レベルが上がって、よーし。工事屋さんの方も大丈夫そうですかね。
And on to level 2. Sometimes you do need the safety strats, though. This game is, for as slow as it seems, it is very unforgiving. Alright, if they want to make me happy, they will go to beach here.
火山が解放されます。ストーリー進みましたね。で、火山も攻略する必要はあるんですけど、後回しで問題ないので、別のステージから先に攻略していきます。後回しにする理由なんですけど、後回しにした方が、ここのコースを選択する際のカーソル移動が1個少ないんですよね。正直ここのカーソル移動が本当に何秒ぐらいの話で、僕なんだったら世界記録。
They're using my route. I don't know if it's actually my route, but this is good. Alright, now if they want to make me really happy, they'll both get to beach, because commentating beach and Volcano might be a bit difficult. Also, the routes don't meet back up for another like 40 minutes, so, hopefully they're following each other. Alright, beach is really cool. Also has some very good music. I don't have audio, unfortunately, but it has some marimbas. Big fan of the marimbas. But yeah, this is very much a throwback to the first game. In Beach, there's a couple of similar. Okay, good. They're both going to beach. There's a couple of similar points between the two, so it's not identical, but there's a few throwbacks here and there, which make it pretty neat.
で、ここのコース上にナッシーが眠っていて、これどかさないともうね、1分2分ぐらい平気でロスれるんで、これを撮影し、
Beach also has, interesting.
では安定を優先してこのナッシー
Very interesting. English players do not get that executor.
正面にね、ビビオン
Wonder how many
3人の
points
模様
that
が
is.
登場します。青い色で可愛いですね。で、この、目の前をね、横切るんで、これに
So yeah, beach there is an abundance of Pokemon, so they're not going to be short, so it's really going to make a difference on how comfortable they are with their shots, if they do want to back up or not. Either you take 7 or 8 pictures, and if you take 7, you save that many more seconds. So we'll see how they end up on. And again, they are trying to take pictures that they have either taken before or they'll take again. So Machamp, for example, there's a second Machamp later in the game in Wreath. So they take it here just so that they can save a bit more time later. And then the butterfly, Vivillon, they take here because there's one in like every single course. And every time you submit a Pokemon that you've already submitted, again, it's about a 6-second save. Yeah, just playing it safe there, even though they're looking to the side and they're losing a bit of time for that. Really making sure you get a good picture of the octopus was really important.
怪力の武器がやばい。
で、ここでピカチュウ撮影するんですけど、このピカチュウね、下越えててなかなか来ないんですけど、今回来てくれる。今回優しい。今回優しい。いいピカチュウ、いいピカチュウ。歩かないで、もうちょっと早くこっち来て、早くこっち来て。もうこれ歩くのはしょうがない。撮影します。なるべくリンゴでね、こっちに寄せて大きくなったところ、撮影します。近づいたところで撮影します。
Alright, we're taking a cute little Pikachu there. Again, Pikachu we've already taken a picture of, although it wasn't in a course, it was actually in a tutorial, and that still counts. So, we can't profit on that too much because he only shows up here really, but we do when we can.
この状態でマッキョ撮影すると、マッキョに近づいた状態で撮影できるんで、高得点がね、得られます。大きく取れますね。で、このちょっと寄ってる状態、ドリフトって呼んでるんですけど、これがね、RTA で、まあね、要所要所必要になってくるんで、まあ出てくる。
Alright, now you can lead Pikachu to the shovel for a few extra points. It doesn't look like either of them are doing that. Oh no, oh no. Don't do it, he's not gonna follow the apples. Okay, so hopefully we're not gonna be too low on points. No, he's too far away. We'll see if he goes for the backup brawler or something. Doesn't look like it. Okay. So hopefully the rest of his points are going to be able to cover for that. Alright, let's see this executor. 4,300. Interesting. Very interesting. Yeah, so one mechanic in this game that I really dislike is the way that Pokemon interact with apples, where they'll if they see an apple on the ground, they'll like zero in on that apple, even if you throw like 6 more to them. Unless you either hit them with an apple, or if you scan them, they'll like break free from their tunnel vision. And that was not a thing in the first game. In the first game, it was very much more. If you throw a new apple, generally they're going to go for the new apple. It actually depended on the Pokemon. But yeah, not a fan of how that works in this game. I'm gonna be honest. I only have a few complaints about this game, but that's one of them. Other than that, this game is very much the gem of 2021. Possibly of this decade. And we're only 2 years in.
で、ビーチのヒルを攻略したので、次はね。
And yeah, I'm gonna lose about 2,000 points on that Pikachu, so hopefully that doesn't affect his score too much. Hopefully the rest of it will make up for it. Hold your breath. No, misses. Alright, I can't see because the quality of that looks like 600 points or something like that. That is actually very unfortunate. It's like 2 or 3 pictures that could have been a tiny bit better if he had done it a bit,
あ、なるほどなるほど。よかったよかった。まあよくないんですけど。
yeah, that's a bit rough, but
あったね。
these things happen. So he is going to need to come back in, and he made sure to hit the executor for a different start pose. Because again, if you run into the same start pose, so if he submitted another 1 star, you only get the difference of the score if you're in the same level. So if he had a 4,000 point 1 star and he submits a 4,200 point 1 star, he would only get the extra 200 points in the same level, which is why he went for the 2 star there.
正面向いてるんですけど、ここ見切れてくるんで、見切れてきたタイミングでリンゴを上げて、こちらにね、笑顔を。
Interesting. All right, they take that Sharpedo a bit early. The whirlpool to the right actually gives background points, so if you wait a bit on that Sharpedo, you can get 150 extra points there. So, wonder why they take it that early. There it is. So, if you throw apples in the whirlpool, it is a throwback to a Pokemon game that I haven't necessarily played, but some of you may have, which is Magikarp Jumps. It's an Android and iPhone game. And the more apples you throw in, the higher the Magikarp jumps. It's pretty funny. Alright, and here we have Wailord. Finally, for the first time since the first game it's been in, is actually to scale in the game. You'll see it in like Sword and Shield, and it's going to be this like small shrimp-looking thing, and it's like, what's going on? But in this game, they were more at liberty of making things to scale. We'll see Joltix later that are going to be super small as well, which is pretty cute. But yeah, Wailord finally getting the respect he deserves. And again, another really close Sharpedo. Interesting. They may not know, to be fair. And yeah, although cutting off the Pokemon isn't, super ideal, you actually don't lose that many points compared to taking one that's like super far out. So that Mantine, for example, was zoomed in a bit, cut off a bit of maybe the head and the tail, but he's still going to get like 1,800 for the size or something, just because you don't lose that many for cutting it off. You still do, so it's something to keep in mind, but it's not, it's better to cut off the Pokemon in the picture than to take one that's like super far away, and losing points on size, because size sort of feels like it's almost exponential the way it scores. So if it's like in half the picture, it's going to be like 500 points instead of, what you would expect. The professor is definitely rough on size points. Size matters.
以降かな、ちょっと正確に把握してないですけど、バージョン 2.0 以降のニューポケモンスナップで遊んでます。バージョン1の時とバージョン2の時と
I really like Reef. It's one of my favorite courses, but unfortunately, we're out of Reef. Well, maybe. So for the water levels, the 3 that they're going to do now, there are nighttime variants to both Beach and Reef, but you only get them later in the game, and you don't actually have to do them to progress. So we will only be going through these courses once. But to make up for it, we go through underwater 3 times. So, he's not an artist, he's a scientist. You're not wrong.
多分大丈夫だと思うんですけど、でこのペリッパー本来記録狙いの時には取りません。代わりに生拳取ります。で回避4800いいですね。でマンタインがなんか顔の部分見えなくてなんかようわからん。そうだよね。そりゃそうなるわ。3900点。で325がまあ4400。
Yeah, before Reef before Beach they were pretty close. I think Kujio was maybe, I don't know, 10-15 seconds behind, but since he did have that flub with Pikachu, that did set him back a bunch. So we'll see if Calio can keep the lead. If he stays on top of his points, he'll be able to keep it, but this game can be very unforgiving. So if there's another flub, it might tie up again.
こちらもビーチじゃない。
And flubs can
海上
definitely
に戻り
happen,
ました。
especially in underwater.
まあ僕の方のストーリーなんですけど、またストーリー
Or undersea, I always
次
forget.
はね、海中というコースが新たに開放されました。まあ当初ネオワン号、海の中に潜れない設定なんですけど、改造してくれたので、結局、海の中にも行くことになります。で、ここには光るクリスタフラワーがあるので、クリスタフラワーの撮影も狙いつつ、ポケモンの、ね、撮影もやっていくことになります。頑張りましょう。
あとここ、オクタンと生拳がランダムで出現するので、皆さん、オクタンが出るように祈ってください。コメントで、オクタンって
オクタンってお祈りエモートお願いします。オクタン。
Alright, now underwater is pretty. It's neat. A lot of people don't like it. I know, especially in the high score community, people don't necessarily like it, specifically because the apples act differently underwater, or they have a lot less gravity because underwater. And it's very difficult to adjust on the first few apple throws. How long does it take to run this game? The estimate here is 250. I think both these runners have 230 somethings. 232 to 234, something around that range. Honestly, if you pick this up for a first run and you spend like you'd learn the game, fast but properly, the first time you should be able to do it in anywhere between like 2 hours 55 minutes to like 3 hours and 10 minutes. It's not too hard to pick up as long as you understand the progression and you know how to take good pictures. It's a really easy game to pick up. It's very much the optimizations that will be where people save time. But very easy to pick up. And if you're looking for a chill game to play, definitely a good one to consider. And if you're looking for a short one that's also chill, the first game is 20 minutes long and slow but high skill ceiling. Definitely has a high skill ceiling. I always like that scene with the Whalmer. He just blows away the Pyukumuku.
節約できるんですけど、残念なことに今回ホエール湖を撮影したので新発見だって言われます。で、サメ肌を撮影しました。ここ泳いでいるんでリンゴをあげて喜んでいるタイミングで撮影します。いや、喜びに満ち溢れた表情をしてますね。で、ここのね、今海中の洞窟って言っていいんですかね。進んでいきます。
What's my favorite map? My favorite map is Beach Day. I do like that one a lot. Would recommend.
RTA らしいバグが当時やったのがバージョン2でやってるんでできないんですけど、イルミナプルリルバグと呼んでいて。
But yeah, there's a lot of good maps in this game though. A lot of the DLC maps are really cool. I really liked the side path maps, side path day especially. River is also really nice. Beach and reef, although I am pretty biased to water. Not underwater because it is underwater. Casually, there's a lot of courses that are really cool. I think Cave and Ruins are both really cool. For high score, a lot less cool. But again, that's my bias showing. Ooh, we're getting lucky. All right, so I did mention the randomness earlier in the run. As of version 2.0, it is random whether some events occur. So we saw Kaolio earlier. The scene with Whalmer, there was a Pyukumuku, and then on the left side there was a Octillery. And it's a bit better to get the Octillery since we had already gotten the Octillery before. It's less consistent, but you do save time basically by getting that Octillery. You save a couple seconds since you don't have to take a later picture, which I'm not sure what the backup is. Might be either Tentacruel or Coolfish or something along those lines. All right, if anyone's looking for either a bathroom break or a time to go get breakfast, now is a pretty good time because we are entering what I like to call the Gauntlet of auto scrollers, where unfortunately there's going to be a lot of auto-scrollers. And they're almost all back-to-back. That's actually a neat picture, like, photographically. There's the big Luminion and then the small one in the back. That's cool.
まあ、タイム的にはロスなんですけど、ホエール湖を撮影すると点数的には高いんで、だいぶ、安定して、抜けられるでしょうねっていう安心感もあったりなかったり。
Alright, so to continue from here in underwater, they will need to trigger a certain event, which is a Clotzer that's going to break a rock. But that Clotzer doesn't show up immediately. You actually need to go about halfway into the level to have one of the Clotzers win a fight between another Clotzer, and then he'll show up at the start of the level. So we need to go about halfway through the level. We don't need to take any pictures. We're just going to have to win a fight. And by us, I mean the Clotzers are going to win a fight. We don't actually fight the Clotzers. That would be silly and dangerous. So the Clotzers need to win a fight, and then they're going to go back to the start of the level, and the Clotzer is going to be there, and then he's going to be able to blow up a rock, and then we're going to need to get to the end of the level. Again, no pictures are necessary. So for the next about 8 minutes, there's not going to be any pictures, unfortunately. And again, just because of the mechanics of the game, they will be looking forward and not looking around, or not, like, triggering any interactions because they, don't want to lose time, understandably. So, unfortunately, a bit of waiting here. And then after that, we have an Illumina Pokemon, which is the longest one, which is Wishiwashi. I guess I shouldn't spoil it. No spoiling. We don't know who the Illumina is. I won't spoil it. And then we have Volcano they're going to go through. Going to take pictures there. And then something similar in Volcano where they need to get to the end of level 2 to trigger the Illumina Pokemon. And then there's going to be another Illumina Pokemon. And then we're going to be in Forest, and we'll take a few pictures. And then there's going to be another Illumina Pokemon. So for the next, 40-ish minutes, unfortunately, there's basically only 2 courses. Which is one of the reasons why this game is a bit rough to run. Just because of the long pauses in action. But, in my opinion, the rest of the game makes up for it. And if you enjoy cute Pokemon doing cute things as much as the rest of us, good video game. From a casual point of view, this is really a good way to actually get players to, get back in levels and see things they haven't seen yet, but it doesn't lend itself well to the run.
64番の場合はズームしないと撮影できないのはそもそもねカメラを構えるっていう動作を再現しているためです。
Galileo actually getting Octillery this time. So we actually thought before the update that it was set to Octillery was always on level 1 and Pyukumuku was always on level 2. Turns out that was random. So go figure, we just got lucky.
で、結局このコース入ってきて今何もしてないんですけど、何をするかって言いますと、カニの喧嘩を見に行きます。カニのポケモンといえば、さあ何なんでしょうね。予想してみてください。
カニと言ったらね、いっぱいいますけどね。
カニといえばね、いっぱいいるんですけど、画面の奥に見えてきたのはブロッサー。
Yeah, coming up on the right side here, we're going to see Clotsers. If you don't do anything, they take about 5, rounds of going back and forth for them to finish the fight. But if you throw Illumina Orbs at them, or at one of them rather, he gets like super powered up, and he will he'll win the fight. So we're gonna throw it on the left one because he shoots first, and that's a bit faster. And you'll see he just blows the other one away. And we're waiting specifically for bubbles to come out at the end, and then we can leave. So that's the bubbles coming out. That's the trigger, basically.
通り進めるね条件になります。そんなん言われてないとわからんて。
これ難しかったですね。本当初見の時。
普通に多分クリアすればいい。
Yeah, as all new. Some of them do take you for a spin and can only be found earlier, unfortunately. Natu 4 was one that really took me a while because that's only on level 1, I think, in Ruins. Or, well, the good one anyways. There's one that's on the
ブロスターがね、主人公の前泳いでくるんですけど、これ
on
に
the
ね、
Golurk
イルミナ
shoulder.
オーブを当てます。
But yeah, a couple of them
も
are
う
just
ちょっと
very
ねしないと出てこないんですけど、もうちょっと思い出
very
すと
hidden. Especially the requests from the professors, those are
RTA でね
impossible
優
to
勝
find.
で、あ、やばい、待って、危な。
Are these
イルミナ
two?
オーブ当てる、損ねるところだ。
Are they the best in the world?
これは
So on the right side, that is
イ
the
ルミナ
record
オー
holder.
ブを
He
当
is
てて、
currently the
しば
best,
らく眺めてい
and
る
also
と、
really good at other Pokemon games. He
実
had the
はね、
record,
左に
at least in the
技が
Japanese
進めなく
version,
なってたんですけど、
for
こ
Sword
の
and Shield,
お岩
and
を
also he
与え
has
てくれる
second
こと
place
で
on the English boards.
新たなね、ブロ
The
ック
English
ルート
community is a bit
を
more
獲得
competitive in that game, and the boards are split by
そう
language.
やってます
But yeah, really good.
やってますね。やって
You
ま
know,
すね。
first of all in
で、
general,
やってる
second
人
of
は
all
ね、頑
at
張って
Pokemon
頑張って。
Snap.
あ、こっちに
On the right side, I believe he's
あ、やばい。
sixth place right now.
あ、いけない、いけない。
大丈夫だと思い
But
ます。
also he has
そう、
so he was
この
focusing on other categories a lot more
撮影という
before
シューティングゲーム
he did any
リ
percent.
ンゴとかイルミナオー
So
ブとか、
he's
いろん
sixth
な
place, but like
壁
he
を突破
could
すると
he
か、
could
頑張
get
ってね、
fourth,
ポケモン
third.
狙ってや
I
ってい
think
く
if
こと
he
がいい。
just
そ
cleans
れ
up
ぞれの当て
his
感
skill
が
level
違うの
right
で、
now, and then obviously, you know, if
こう
he
いう風
improves,
に
he
やら
he
せて
could
一回ね、ドツボにはまると
keep
偉いもんで
climbing.
ね。
But yeah, definitely both really good
で、
runners.
僕の方の説明に戻るんですけど、まあ、この分岐ルートを進んでいくんですけど、ここのストーリー進む条件、この先のゴールに入ることが、ストーリーを進める条件になります。まあ、ここのね、先ほども言いましたけど、分岐ルートの発見方法、プレイした方、
Let me
初見
actually
で
just
わからなかった方
double
も
check
多いのでは
for
ないでしょうか。まあ、ブロスターのエビの喧嘩、カニの喧嘩自体を見ることはできると思うんですけど、こ
Julio
こを進
here.
める方法わからなくて、僕、初見プレイの時1時間、2時間、うろうろしてた記憶あります。
私もね、気づいたら、なんか、あれ、最初にこんなブロスターいたっけってなったんでね。びっくりしましたね。
まあ、なりますわな。なりますわなっつって、まあ、なったやつ並みの感想なんですけど。で、結局ね、先ほども1枚も写真撮らなかったんですけど、ここも、分岐ルート進むこと自体が、進行にね、必要なフラグとなっておりますので、撮影をね、全くする必要がありません。ポケモンスナップなんだから、ポケモンスナップしろよってコメントで言われていそうですが、まあ、こうするのが一番早いんだから仕方ないよね。まあ、我々も、ね、撮影はしないんですけど、ポケモンのね、生き生きとした姿を見ていこうと思います。まあ、先ほどからね、いろいろなポケモンが海底に向かって移動してますが、正面にプルリルと、いうポケモンがいますね。先ほどもちらっと名前が出てきました。
Oh, that's fine. Actually, I think he held the any percent record for Brilliant Diamond for a bit. Back when that game was super busted. But he holds a lot of second places in Sword and Shield, both again English, Japanese, and like across different categories. So really good runners in those games as well. But yeah, I explained this earlier, but he did come into Snap. He posted a run and then disappeared for a few months. It wasn't like super good, but like it was respectable. And then just came back a couple months later and just like started wiping everything that everyone else had. Definitely very strong in this game. And as far as Kujia, it looks like at least on speedrun.com, he only runs new Snap. He hasn't done other games. So I'm not sure if they're just new to this game, if they just liked this game a lot and they're like, all right, let's do it. I know they definitely did start with points runs. So how fast can you get 500,000 points? How fast can you get 1,000,000 points? I spent a lot of time routing that and all that. And yeah, those runs are pretty interesting too. It very much focuses on points, and you have a bit more flexibility with which levels you go into, because you don't need to go through all of them, obviously. And then later got into any percent, which is probably why he started out so strong, because he already knew a lot about running this game.
100年前に冒険していたキャプテンビクトルは他の遺跡をね発見することが、できたようですが、海底にはね行く手段がなかったためにここのね存在には気づけなかったようです。ここら辺ね、先ほど見たポケモンと見てないポケモンといろいろいますが、今ちらっと具足武者っていうポケモンがいましたね。具足虫モチーフのポケモンで、まあ当然ね具足虫モチーフなんで海底に。
Alright, so this Cradley at the end is Roy. Specifically, it's Roy when it's a boy and it's Wendy when it's a girl. And he'll always block you. There's no way to get around it. Yeah, high scores are really cool. And there's different, like, I guess layers, if you want to call it like that. So there's runs, obviously, watching a run right now, 2 actually. And then there's the high score stuff, which is, individual Pokemon, how high can you get on a specific Pokemon. And then there's also course score, which is actually started getting a bit more traction recently. It's always been popular, but some of the high score runners started doing course scores, or high score players rather started doing course scores. So course score it sort of has its own like mathematical what's the word? Equation. Oh no! Kujio was out here just trying to be nice to the Frillish, and then Frillish just stops them. That's rude on a lot of levels. But yeah, course score. So you're gonna go through a course, and you're gonna take as many pictures as you can, basically. And then there's an equation that basically counts up your total for that course. And there's boards for that, both individual boards per level for all 30 levels, and a total course score for you combine your score for all the levels, and it's pretty cool. I've done a couple courses. It's neat. It's very neat. If people are interested playing this game more than just casually, I would recommend dipping your toes in that, because it is a lot of fun. Alright, so now we get to the next Lumina Pokemon. So again, there are 4 Lumina Pokemon. This is number 2. Or, the second one we're seeing at least. Technically, you could do them the last 3 in any order, but we're on number 2. And this one actually, if you know this Pokemon, it actually is really well done, in my opinion. It's wishy-washy, so there's the solo form and the school form, and you need to combine the school form or the solo forms together to get the school form, which is very true to the actual games. So I found that really cool my first playthrough. There is actually a lot of attention to detail in this game that's very either subtle at times or obvious at some other times, but as far as bringing the actual world to life, this is super well done as a game. Yeah, well, it's the same Pokemon. It's so in the actual games, in Sun and Moon, I don't know if they showed up in Sword and Shield, if they were one of the ones that were cut or not. But their ability is, I think it's called schooling. So they are in the big form originally, but if they get under 75% of their health, or sorry, under 25% of the health, if 75% was taken, then they go into solo form, which is the smaller one, which is a lot weaker as well. But when they're in school form, they're really strong. I actually used them in my casual playthrough, and I definitely enjoyed it a lot. It was cool. If anyone goes back to play Sun and Moon, catch yourself a wishy-washy. Alright, so you see on the left, Kuja is actually zooming in here, and although zooming in slows you down, it makes your throws more precise. But more importantly, for this stage specifically, the big wishy-washy is going to stop you. No, come on, dude. Oh my god, that fish was just juking him. Alright, so the big wishy-washy is going to stop you, so it actually doesn't matter how much you slow down earlier, because you're always going to be stopped until a certain point. So hitting the fish earlier is more important than actually speeding up until you stop, right? It's sort of like a red light. You can't go into the light screen, so it doesn't matter how fast you get to the red light. I actually want to know what Calilio's doing. As far as I know, and I believe as far as the other runners know, you stop for less long on the earlier one. So unless he knows something that we don't, so there's 3 separate places where you can get stopped, which is more important in the second level where you can get better interactions. Again, for high score, you might be referencing that a lot. But there are 3 separate places where you can get stopped. So one is the one on the left we just saw, right at the start. One is just before where Calilio on the right is right now. The wishy-washy are sort of in groups of 5, and in level 2 they either have a Finion or Love Disc with them. And that is how you get either the 3-star or the 4-star. Is it this current 3-star? Yes, that's the one where he does the big backflip. So you get stopped there. And then the last one is at the end here. They're all going to be in a group. But as far as I know, you get stopped for longer. So I am very curious about this. I wonder if you hit them early enough that it actually saves time. They're also a lot easier to hit because they're literally all in a blob. So I'm very curious about this actually.
これでね、弱し群れた姿が、群れた姿じゃない、弱し単独の姿が群れているやつに一定数当てるとね、奥から群れた姿が登場します。めちゃくちゃですね。ちょっと言ってると混乱するんで、もうやめます。はい。
Now, people might accuse me and be like, well, you could just watch their runs. In my defense, if I watch runs, I'm not sitting through the entire Lumina spots.
特にね、私、工事おすすめポイントなんですが、ホイール王が出てくる。
He comes back. Okay.
単独の姿の弱足を数匹追いかけてるんです。口を開けて。食べちゃうぞ。
I wonder if that's faster.
ここにですね、オーブを当てて、群れの弱足を、
It doesn't seem fast. I'll look into that.
群れた弱足が、群れた姿の弱足が追いかけるという感じで、まさに先ほどのスイミーのね、
Why is Kuja stopped on the left?
撮影することができるので、とても印象的なシーンです。皆さんぜひね、自分で、ご自身の目で確かめてみてください。
Oh, Jesus. Okay, so I'm just looking at the face cams now. I thought the Emolga plushie was like on his desk and it was like small. No, it's a big chunky thing in the back. It's funny. Also, Caro is a VTuber. I guess I hadn't mentioned that before, but in all his runs, he has his avatar there, and it's funny. It's fun. It's good times. I like it whenever I verify the runs. Alright, on the bright side, that is the longest Lumina course, so it is. It's you know, that's what I'm saying. But yeah, luckily, that's the longest Lumina course, so we only have a few more to sit through, and they're all significantly shorter. Also, fun fact, you can actually take pictures of the smaller wishy-washy, but they're not worth as much. So the bigger one will have a 1,000-point bonus, so its pose is going to be 1,500 instead of 500, for example. But you can take pictures of the small one.
このゲームね、ハイスコア勢の他にロースコア勢と呼ばれる、なるべく最初の点獲得しようっていう方々もいまして、
I guess I didn't mention this earlier. I said I was going to talk about this, but then I didn't. So two things. First of all, they're playing on Japanese version. First of all, probably because of preference. But second of all, it is about 20 seconds faster, just over text boxes. So it's not super important whether you play in Japanese or English. Definitely not as much as, you know, the main series games, for example. Actually, when starting out, I knew it was faster in Japanese, but I still played in English just to make sure that, like, if I took a picture of the Pokemon, I could see, oh, this is, I don't know, Beware, right? Instead of, oh, I accidentally took a picture of the Pancham in the background, and I'm gonna lose a bunch of time because I made a mistake without realizing. But yeah, Japanese is a bit faster. They're also playing without voiceover. That makes the loading a tiny bit faster. So you'll see whenever either box is on the top left, so you can see Professor Mirror in the top left there. Whenever he's talking, he has voiceover lines, which don't get loaded in, and also during cutscenes, they don't get loaded in either. But anyways, we're on to Volcano, which is a really cool course, but there's one very critical thing that I really hate about Volcano, which we'll get to later. But yeah, pretty cool course. So again, this is one of the courses, sort of like Underwater, where there's a big split path, where there's different endings sort of thing. So in Underwater, we went to the right the first time, and we saw, you know, the Klotzer fight, we saw the Tentacruel, all that stuff, and then the second time around, we went to the left, where we saw there was the Frillish, there was, and you know, the whole Underwater section. Where you get a certain legendary in post-game, which is really cool. So this is another one that has one of those big split paths. Now, for story reasons, the first time around, we're going to the left path, and on level 2, we'll be going to the right path. And we need to get to the end of level 2 to progress. So, first time around, we're getting the points. Second time around, we're just getting to the end.
こちらに気づいたタイミングが、いい感じなんですけど、気づいてくれるかな、気づいてくれる気配が、撮影しますと。で、撮影して次はね、ゴロンを撮影します。壁に張り付いてるんですけど、リンゴをあげるとね。
Alright, unrelated, but Archeops makes me think of this. I played a trivia game the other night, and I couldn't think for the life of me the answer, which was the animal, or the dinosaur rather, that Archeops is based on. And it lost me the point. I'm still mad about it. It was like, what was the first dinosaur that was like the transition point between dinosaur and bird or something like that? And I could picture Archeops, but I could not think of it.
私はここで温泉に浸かるチルタリスを取ります。
I already forget the name of the Pokemon.
あれちょ知らない動きした。
Oh no, Altair is flying away. Okay, that's fine. So Volcano does have a lot of backups. You don't need that many points to successfully get the point goal. Also, there's a bunch of backups in the last room, which is very convenient. So yeah, even if he misses Altaria and he normally gets it, that's fine. There's, yeah, you can see the Monferno, the Torkoal, which I literally only found out about like a month and a half ago or something. But yeah, it's pretty cool. Also, I forgot to mention it earlier, but we can see on the left, he's actually going to hit the Tyrantrum with a couple of apples, because then Tyrantrum gets angry. And if Tyrantrum's angry, he will yell at you and you will go faster. And although making T-Rexes angry is not recommended, so right here about, we'll see like just a big speed boost when he goes down the hill. Zoom. Very nice. And a cute little Charmander that's pretty happy there. Oh, get the Aerodactyl instead of the Growler. Was super delayed. That was really weird. The Graveler like waited 2 seconds before it reacted. Alright, so on the left here, there are 2 Gravelers hanging on the wall. Calgalo didn't do this, but we'll see if Kujiya does. Doesn't look like it. So if you knock them down, they fall down. They don't disappear though, they actually show up later at the end, and you can get about like, I don't know, 50 extra points. Other Pokemon points at least. So no, it doesn't look like they're doing it. Okay. But yeah, you can get other Pokemon points, so you know, it is worth it in my opinion, but that is a very obscure interaction that you wouldn't know about unless you're told. Alright, and looks like some really good pictures coming out of Kyogyo's side. He should make the goal no problem. Yeah. Oh, alright. So if you hit the wrong Charmander there, if you hit the right Charmander instead the one that was closer to him, he actually would have messed up the shot, because the further Charmander would jump to the closer one, and then you can't get the one right here, where he's like very big and very happy. It is such a cute picture. とりあえず火山のレベルを上げることができたので、それに伴ってね、ストーリー進行して樹海というねステージが新たに開放されてます。開放されてるんですけど、まだ火山の調査が終わってないので、もう一回ね引き続き火山の調査にね向かっていきます。で、入ったらとりあえず連打 OK。 Alright, we'll see how the points are here. So again, on the right side, we'll just need to get to the end of the level. There's nothing particularly special to do here. We just need to get to the end to progress. So another quick bathroom break.
て、
感がいいんですよね。
そう、わかる。
which honestly I might consider.
工事屋さんの方の点数はどんなもんですかね。大丈夫そうですかね。5論取ってましたね、確か。
5論取ってます。
5論取って、
反応してくれてないけど、
なんか
4200 OK。
まあ、チルタリスの方がね、
もう飾るの足が。
まあ、なんかこう。
あ、4000切った。やばいな。
いや、でもまあ、大丈夫でしょう。
So I guess I didn't mention this earlier, but they already do have Illumina orbs in this level. The Illumina orbs are set per island. So we saw Florio first, and then Bella Silva was where Jungle was. So we got the Illumina orbs there. And then in Maracopia, we got them in Underwater. And then here we got them in Sands already, so we don't need to get them again in Volcano. So it's just, on the next island, we'll need to get them again, but since we already have them... Oh, he made that goal by 200 points. Excellent. All right, no safety strats being pulled out here. that is one mistake away of a 45-second time loss, so, you gotta respect the cojones.
ゴールするだけで条件がね達成できるため長いね休憩時間3となります。まあ我々もね溶岩の中でよう頑張ったわけですからこのあたりでね休憩しても怒らないでしょう。
But yeah, so we already have Illumina orbs, so we don't need to get them again, basically.
ところでねさっきのね溶岩地帯どうかさっきの溶岩地帯どころかここもそうですけどどう考えてもめちゃくちゃ危ないと思うんですけどねこんなところでね撮影続けてもねネオワン号の中にいれば安全無事撮影していくことができます。これはね実質無敵時間さんってことですね。この先ね RTA ではお見せできないんですけど、ここのね
Alright, so coming up here is what is known as the Blue Room. Now, the Blue Room is very unfortunate because there's a lot of background points with the blue lava, or specifically, I think it's like the rocks or something. It's sort of weird. But there are so many pictures that you need to take here. So, off memory, Flareon 1, 2, 3, and 4 star, are all there. Torkel 1, 2, 3. I'm not sure if the 4 stars here or not. Yeah, no, the 4 stars here. Yeah. Torkel 1, 2, 3, 4. Charmander 1, 2, and 4. You have Graveler, I think 1 and 2. One of the Shinx pictures. Am I forgetting? Yeah, Slugma 1, 2, 3, and 4. Like, there are so many pictures in this room, and it's just very difficult to manage for a number of reasons. But this is the Blue Room. Please share my pain. It's a time. It's definitely a time. Alright, and now for the most important debate in the game. It's whether or not Typhlosion is blue or green. I have always thought he was blue, but I'm being promised that he's green, which I really don't see. He's only green if you throw the Illumina orb at him, and then he starts glowing green, but he's definitely blue. So, if anyone has input on this, I need you to yell at one of my friends who says he's green.
石のカービンシリーズの開発元と一致してるわけです。これ何かの偶然なんでしょうか。
まあ偶然でしょうね。
あ、そうですか。はい。
はい、空気読めないチャンネルした後に、ここまでね先進んできたんですけど、ここにはねまた古代遺跡がねあります。ここでね古代遺跡が発見したことで、ストーリーが進んでいくことになるんですけど、ここのね溶岩とか硫黄に紛れた危険地帯にもね、古代遺跡ありますが、古代の人々でどうやってここに遺跡を作り上げたのでしょうかっていうのを RT やってるとちょくちょく思うんですけど、ここに古代遺跡がある謎はストーリーでは解明されません。謎はね深まるばかりです。
深まるばかりです。深まるさん
じゃあポケモンの深まるじゃのうてね。で、ベースキャンプに戻ってね、まあ、写真は撮影してないのでひたすらね A 連打して先にね進めていきます。工事屋さんの方はゲーミング用が見てますね。
はい、ゲーミングしてます。
なんかこうちょくちょく頑張ってる割にはなんか普通に追いつかれそうな気配があってやや怖め。
まあまあまあこれぐらいの差は許容範囲。
Alright, so next up we got the third Illumina Pokemon. And this one's stressful, sort of. At least playing it, because if you want to do it optimally, you're going to be waiting for the Illumina Pokemon for a long time, and it always feels like you've waited longer than you should. At least for me, at least. Um,
どんなポケモンでしょうか
but you'll see they will be waiting for a while before they actually take a picture of the
皆さん
Pokemon.
予想してみてくださいね。これ予想
And that's intended. That actually speeds up the ending a tiny bit.
初見の方はね、ぜひぜひ予想しながら見ていただく
So,
のが
you know, as the professor
醍醐味かな
is doing all this for the sake of science, he is
中にいるってことはないんだけど
um,
鏡博士
very much okay
ここ
with
で
sending
正面
children
に現れ
in
ました
active volcanoes.
ここに登場するイルミナポケモンはウルガモスですね。で、言ってる間
Here we get Volcano, which is Illumina
どう考
Pokemon
えて
number
も
3.
緊急事態なんですけど、ネオワン号に入っていればね、無敵時間です。よろしくお願いします。
Here we get the second Pokemon, which is ambiguous whether it's still Illumina Pokemon number 3 or Illumina Pokemon number 4. I will let you guys at home decide that for yourselves.
そのまんまね、ウルガモスの撮影に向かっていきます。帰った方がいいんじゃないかな。
Yeah, the short version is they have a Cloak of Fire. You need to hit them twice with apples before you can throw in Illumina Orb at them.
やっていきましょ
And then once that's through, you can take a picture of them. But again, they will be waiting a while beforehand just because you stop a bit later. You stop for less time a bit later, rather. So you stop for, I don't know, 5 seconds instead of 10. I'm not sure what the timing comes down to, but I know it's faster. Or is he? Maybe he'll just take it early.
炎を消すパワーもあります。すごい。
う。すごいな、それ。
Or maybe he's just messing around and having fun.
フワリンゴで無事に炎を消しまして
No, it takes it early. Interesting. Okay.
しまして
3 pictures for good luck. Also funny number.
無事にね、先に進んでいきます。なんでなんでしょうね。まあ、
なんでなんでしょうね。
とりあえず、フワリン
Maybe he knows something we don't.
炎を消して消した
I'll have to look into that as well.
イルミナオーブがこれで届くようになったので、イルミナオーブ当て、イルミナ
Speaking of looking into things, I will be right back. As if anyone needs a bathroom break, now is a good time.
まあ僕はしばらく休憩時間なんですけど、一旦フワリンゴの特性について解説しておきましょうか。まあ、イルミナ地方特有の特産のね、果物で甘くて柔らかくて、水に浮くほど、さっき沈んでましたけど、とても軽くて見た目は普通のリンゴです。ポケモンたちにあげるとすごい喜んでくれます。まあ考えられるとしたら、まあリンゴをもらって喜びのあまり炎を出し忘れちゃったってことなんでしょうか。まあ、フワリンゴって便利ですね。
便利だな。
はい。
で、私もここで火炎放射を食らいます。
火炎放射っていう状況か。どう考えても火炎放射よりは放射はされてるけど、放射されてますけど。
はい、ということで2匹のウルガモスですね。
はい。でこのウルガモスというポケモンはね、ブラックホワイトで初登場したポケモンです。太陽ポケモンという分類で、古代の壁画には炎の神として描かれていたそうです。まあ、見た目やね、対戦の強さも相まって人気の高いポケモンです。僕も好きですね。モフモフポケモンカウントですね、こいつは。
いいですね。
こう毛がねあってね、こうめっちゃ可愛いんですよね。めっちゃ対戦でも使ってました。
ほい
お、ほい。頑張ってリンゴを当てて、まあここだとねあんま届かないんですけど、まあこの先今ね僕が放置してるところなんですけど、ここで本来ね通常プレイだと多分頑張ってウルガモスにリンゴ当ててイルミナオーブ当ててってやるところなんですけど、そこのね横穴のところで当てられるんだったらそれに越したことはない。ガチでね僕初見プレイの時ねゲロゲロによってプレイ続行不能になりました。ね、あんまりゲロ酔いポイント頑張ってね。
私はあんまり 3D 酔いしないで。
マジ羨ましい。自分ね工事屋さんと違ってカーソル動かしてないんですけど、僕これカーソル動かしてないのは RTA 的にあんまり動かさなくてもいいかなっていう判断もあるんですけど、このねズームのポイントを動かすとね、このズームのねこのカーソルがねなんかこう酔い止めのような役割果たしてて、動かすと酔っちゃうんですよね。なんでね、連打力にね問題があり、三半規管にも問題がある人間がね世界記録持ってるこのゲーム、世界記録狙い得かもしれないんでね、ぜひ皆さんこのゲームの RTA を、ね、プレイしてみてください。
無事済みました。お騒がせしました。もう一枚ととこ
う。うん。大事。
結構コメントでこのゲームめちゃくちゃ酔うって言ってる方いますね、やっぱ。
いや、いると思いますよ。僕も初見プレイの時はもう、言っちゃあれですけど、えらいこっちゃでしたよ、本当に。なんかね、
Alright, what I miss?
自分のチャンネルでなんかこう、初見で全部ポケモン撮影するまで終わらないみたいな感じでやったんですけど、もうなんか続行不能になりました。
これはね、大変です。
慣れました。
Mohu. It's a cute little moth. Volcano gave me nightmares in Gen 5. Not because of the Pokemon, because of how strong it is.
とね、休憩の余裕がまだあるんで、まあここでね、一口ね、リアルティータイムアタックさせていただきます。レッドブルいただきます。
はい。うま。リアルティータイムアタック。RTA はですね、
The Red Bull rep, let's go.
アタックの略だと、かつての、
All right, we're almost done the autoscroller gauntlet. Thankfully, I'll have a bit of fresh air coming up, and we'll actually take a few pictures.
ニューポケモンスナップも面白いんですけど、ポケモンスナップも面白いんでね、アーカイブとかがね、
But a few last cutscenes to get through first. So as far as the story goes, I forget exactly when Professor Muir says specific things, but he's gone on to say that there was a giant asteroid that was about to hit the Earth, but the Illumina Pokemon were there to stop it, but his theory is that the Illumina Pokemon were created from the meteor, and that's why they have the Illumina effect. And, you know, part of the story of this game is sort of like figuring out the actual origins, so whether the professor is right or not.
皆さんね、まだ配信されてないですけど、今後ね、配信予定なんで、ぜひね、スイッチお持ちの方、64番のね、ポケモンスナップも遊べるタイミングがありますんでね、ぜひぜひそちらもね、タイミング来たらね、試してみてください。
はい、学会長が呼んでます。副学会長か。
学会長もきっと同じ気持ちでしょう。
そうですね。
このくだり一緒に会話したことないけど。
It's a cool story until the ending of the game where they just completely drop the ball. Like, I'm still upset about it. I don't want to say what happens, but it's neat until the ending. I'm still emotionally hurt about what happened. I think they let the interns write the ending. If you know, you know. Alright, so now we're going to go back. So Forced was unlocked a couple of levels ago, but it's just faster doing it now. And this is a bit of an interesting course. So I spoke about it before, but again, before the DLC update, everything was basically on a set seed. So every time you would enter Forest, you would always get Summer. But now it's random whether you get Summer or Spring. So there's a bit of rerouting, and Summer is 5 seconds faster, just because it's a tiny bit shorter. But there's no way to control it. It is random. In a later research level, you can control it, which is good if you want to do high score stuff. But for now... Yeah, there's a transition just coming up. So there's a foggy area, you'll see it just go to white, and then we'll pop back out either in spring or summer. And then there's another there's actually there's 3 transitions. There are 4 areas in total. This one also has a pretty cool split path at the end. So either we can go to the left to the ruins area or to the right to what's called the sunny area. But you need to do a few things for the actual sunny area, so we'll be going through the ruins area. Alright, so it looks like Carilio got Summer here. Which I like better, first of all, because it's shorter, so it's better. But also I just like the pictures in here better than in spring.
いやいちいちうまくいいかな。
So that Pancham can be a bit finicky to deal with, so I guess that's why he was looking back so often. So again, looking back does lose a bit of time, but sometimes it's a lot better to set up the shots and get them properly and lose like 2 seconds than it is to just drop the ball and lose 45. So.
季節によってね、姿が変わるっていうポケモンなんですけど、これが毛づくろいしているタイミングで撮影します。不思議だね、近くに寄ってきました。イルミナオーブを当てる必要があります。で、当てて、こちらに近づいてくるんで、口を大きく開けてるか、ね、飛び跳ねているシーンでね、撮影します。
Right, decent shots here. Forest is usually pretty lenient on points. So some shots look like they're missing a bit of finesse on Carilio's side, but I don't think that's actually going to matter. Oh, interesting. He goes for the shot. Alright, I want to see the points on that, because there's another shot that's, in my opinion, better. But who knows?
生地かね、放置しとくと、そのまんまね、ゆっくり歩いてって、ゆっくりとこのね、ネオ番号に衝突してタイムロスす
But
る
yeah,
んで、
force
この生地
generally
を
isn't an
しないと
issue. You can get
ここにね、リンゴを当ててどいてもらいます。
you can get the 40,000 pretty easily.
これ後で
生地換算で、
Oh yeah, both these runners are very good. I don't doubt that they. Okay, so there you go. So we'll get to see both. So spring is a tiny bit slower, about 5 seconds, but a bit of a change in scenery. Definitely visually, it looks better. There's not, or in my opinion at least, there's not as much to do in spring as there is in summer. Yeah, spring and fall sort of get the short ends of the stick. I'm not sure if these guys have their own routes, but after the update dropped, I did spend a lot of time routing this one out particularly because we hadn't routed out spring before because no one had gone to spring before. And I think they're doing the same route that I had done. Yeah, they'll just get Bulbasaur and Deerling here. Oh, and Sawsbuck, interesting. Wait, no, that's what you do. Never mind. And again, you see him waiting for the green, the little squares to appear around the Pokemon to make sure that he's, focusing on Bulbasaur and not on Deerling. Also on the right side there, forgot to mention it. If you throw apples at Beware, he starts chasing you, and he just speeds you up, which is cool. What's my PB? I think I'm at 237, which I actually also got in a marathon race, so ironically that we're watching one right now. Let me double check though. Yeah, 237. So I probably could improve it, but I spend way too much time on high score and not enough time on speedruns. High score is just so good.
それはそうよ。で、こんなにね、あちこちのポケモン喜ばせて回って呪われるわけなんてないんですよ。そうです、そうです。はい。で、先ほど春のコースに来たので、この、木の上でね、寝ているダーテングを撮影していきますが、今回どうしようかな。ちょっと、点数高い方を狙うか。まず、ゴルフします。ゴルフっていうのよくないな。はい、当たりました。これで、ダーテングさんを喜んでもらうんですが、この辺で、
Interesting. They take an earlier Kecleon.
ダーテングさんが降りてきました。そして、
there's one later that's better.
ぐわっと喜びのポーズを取ってくれるので、ここが一番点数が高いところです。
Might just be to save time though. So the one later you do need to look to the side, and this one I guess you just need to look forward. So maybe the extra couple hundred points they don't care about too much. There's still a lot of, if there's some lenient points somewhere, then you definitely don't need that many points to progress. Then compromises like that are pretty good. So it's a lot of very, very small small optimizations, but they do add up. And I mean, that's, one of the reasons why Caro does have the record. He's the best at what he does. So who am I to judge him on his points? As long as he makes the scores. I did more high score. I peaked at 4th place back in my time, but I think I've dropped down to like 12th or something by now. I haven't played nearly as much recently. But yeah, I definitely liked the whole the finding new things, and there's less new things to find nowadays, so the grind is fun, but only so fun. But if there's more DLC, I will definitely be researching. You hand out apples exactly. That's the game. That's all you do. I mean, at the end of the day, that's basically it. And it's simple, but it's fun. They do a really good job at it. Alright, this is my favorite Luna course. Mostly because of the music, but also because the general vibe to it. It looks like Kuja is getting pretty good points out here. Yeah, he shouldn't have anything to worry about either.
で、ここのギミックなんですけど、ここめっちゃ簡単で、スタート直後から、リンゴをひたすら投げてると、そのうちミロカロスがね、近づいてきて当たってくれます。で、当たってくれるんで、当たると、会場に浮上してきます。で、浮上してきたタイミングでイルミナオーブを上げて
I mean, it's not cheating per se, but it's definitely a different
なんかミロカロスなんだかなんかよくわからん棒なのかわからないんですけど、まあ、撮影はうまくいってます。
What's the word I'm looking for? I can't think of the right word.
このね、ミロカロスですが、弱しとかね、ウルガモスと違ってね、本当に簡単なんで。
Yeah, after a while, in my opinion, things, if you take the same shot 400 times in a row, it gets stale. I'd rather look for new things. But alas, 'tis what it is. I'll probably get back to it one day. Yeah, so the melodic Illumina, pretty short, thankfully. Also the fourth Illumina Pokemon. So we're doing good progress in the game.
2022年にはね、なんと発売から20周年となるゲームなんで、このゲームで今ね登場したミロカロス知ってる方ね多いのではないでしょうか。見た目がとても美しいとされているポケモンで、以前はねヒンバスというポケモンの美しさを最大まで上げることで進化するという唯一の仕様がね存在したポケモンです。このニューポケモンスナップでもその美しさが存分にね表現されてます。このゲームのグラフィック本当に綺麗で、ミロカロスだけじゃなくてこのステージもねめっちゃ綺麗なんですよね。
Oh yeah, 100%. But yeah, I did do my fair bit of grinding, but you know, the things you do for points. These days, though, people are addicted to points. Yeah, this map is gorgeous. Also, the music is very good in this map. This is actually the soundtrack that they used in the trailer for the DLC update. When they're like, hey, by the way, 3 new courses, and we're like, what? The game's been out for like 4 months. That was a good time. But yeah, they used this song. A very good song. Also pretty fun to high score. It has some really cool interactions. But again, we do only need 1 picture for the actual run. So a lot of it is just looking forward and waiting. But thankfully, this does put an end to the autoscroller gauntlet. There's going to be one pretty short one later, and that's about it. We will be actually doing things for the next hour.
私の調べた限りでは日本時間の1月15日午前6時頃ですので、皆さんチェックしてみましょう。でもアメリカのイベントだったら英語がわからないと楽しめないんじゃないの？お思いのそこのあなた。なんとですね、AGDQ はジャパニーズリストリームというチャンネルにて日本語解説配信を行われますので、ぜひね、英語がわからないという方もそちらのチャンネルでご覧になってはいかがでしょうかと説明したところで、ちょうどキャロさんが、点数の採点の方に行きましたね。
はい、しれっと戻ってきました。無事に間に合いました。ね、はい。いやね、かつてね、ポケットモンスター XY のね、RTA In Japan でイベントがあった時には、ね、なぜかね、ゲームタイトルがトイレに変わるみたいなアクシデントもあったようですけど、ちょっとそれは回避できました。
今、レッドブルをいただきました。
いいですね。
いや、ありがとうございます。
Alright, now unfortunately, here's where the game sort of jumps the shark, as far as the story goes. So there's going to be a cutscene coming up, and this is the cutscene of the professor discovering a new island. Now I just want you to realize the proximity of the island and the size of the island, and then wonder how, with the technology they have to teleport and to have maps on holographic tables, that they could not see the island earlier. I still do not have an answer to that. But it is, you could literally swim to it from Volcano. I'm just saying. It is, it's right there. And they're like, oh, this uninhabited island that no one has ever seen or been on before. It's new. So we're going there. Also, very important, this is also where we get the turbo engine, so we can actually speed up the cart. It doesn't speed up as much as it does in the original Pokemon Snap, but it still does speed us up, considerably faster in most places. It's sort of weird how the speed actually works, because it seems to be like different based on the actual location. So some places you're like, wow, am I actually going fast? But yes, you are. But yeah, so we can go fast. So they will they'll see, they will most likely be holding the dash engine the entire time. My Twitch name is Quo with 4 O's. I will type in chat. I'll give you a nice little smiley face. That is me. I play this game sometimes. Yeah, so Snow Day. This is actually one of the easiest courses. It has, I think, the lowest benchmark, tied with... Oh, my memory's failing me. Something else has the same amount of points. But you only need 25,000 points to actually pass here. And here we can actually see Caro drifting to the right. That's to not crash into the Mamoswine. And then back to the left. So if you don't do that sort of zigzag movement, you get stopped by the Mamoswine. So that's one of the only places where slowing down is better. But yeah, we only take, I think, 7 pictures here, if my memory serves. Oh, it gets stopped a bit by the snow runt. Yeah, now with the dash engine, this is really where things start getting a lot more precise, and a lot more difficult also, because you obviously want to go fast, so you want to keep using the dash engine, but also you don't want to either miss your shots or run into Pokemon. Because if you run into Pokemon, they stop you. One good example to actually is Spheal here. So we do need to hit him, and if you don't, you get hit by it. Alright, so we're out of it, okay. And then here we need to slow down for the second Spheal, because we will run into him with the dash engine. And I'm not sure why we're waiting so long. Okay. Oh, he got stopped by Piplup again. Or Piplup.
点数自体は25,000点と非常に低いんですが。
But yeah, for the last few courses, this is really where we might see a bit of the skill difference, although even there, Kushia's still on point with a lot of his stuff, so I don't... It won't be like, significantly different or anything like that, but, Caro very much has this game down to a T, so there will probably be very few mistakes coming out here. Spheal is cute. Where's my Spheal emotes? And there are a few flubs, but still gets out of it pretty okay. And again, there are some pictures. The Glalie, for example, is not particularly good. Even the Piplup's facing backwards. He should still be fine. But again, since we're taking them again in a later course, it's their better Pokemon to take as opposed to, yeah, there you go. As opposed to Spheal, for example, which we would only take once. Since we get Piplup later again, he's just better to take here. Since every new Pokemon would lose about 6 seconds.
で、僕の方、昼の、ね、雪原の撮影が終わったので、次はね、雪原の夜の探索に向かいます。ここにはね、自力で光るクリスタフラワーがあるので、これをね、探しつつ、ポケモンをね、撮影していくことになります。で、ここのステージなんですけど、さっきの雪原昼と比べると、打って変わって難しいので、クリスタフラワーの撮影忘れないで。
Alright, looks like they both make it past the first field. It's actually something that I have very much trouble doing. Alright, that's gonna be a better Piplup at least. And even then, getting stopped by the second one isn't that bad, because you would need to wait for Piplup anyways, so it's not like he's losing too much time by getting stopped by the second spiel.
お大丈夫ですか
Oops, and that is a very zoomed in picture of Mariana. Generally, you don't want to take the butt so close. But yeah, Snow Night, so we go from Snow Day, which is one of the easiest courses, to Snow Night, which is one of the more demanding courses. There's not a lot of wiggle room here, and even then, so we do need to come back in anyways because of the crystal bloom, the Illumina orbs. But even if we wouldn't, it's very much a stage where you need the extra points. So yeah, the route with everything included, you still need to come back and get both Mariana and Piplup. Again afterwards. And again, the reason behind that is you can't unlock a stage and an item at the same time. And if they get to level 2, they'll unlock a stage, but if they take the crystal bloom, they'll unlock the item. So, and the item takes precedence, so they'll unlock the item first, and then the stage later. But yeah, you can't unlock both at the same time, so they will need to come back in and submit new pictures for to actually progress. Which was sort of very difficult to figure out. This game doesn't have like save points per se. It's all autosave. So actually investigating things like that is just very difficult because you need to play up to that point every single time. So routing this game took a minute. Yeah, definitely difficult. And doesn't actually go for a Obama Snow. Interesting. Wonder if he just gets it later, or Alright. Or maybe he took the picture and I didn't notice, I'm not sure. Now, luckily, you don't need to actually know the names of the Pokemon in Japanese. You can just look at their profiles, or their icons, rather, and there's no Obama Snow. Interesting. 9 pictures. Wow, that's actually really low. I am interesting to see these points. Very zoomed in, alright. And yeah, so that was about 1200 size. That definitely lost a couple points there. Very good snow run. That's typical for Linoon. Not bad, Frostmoth. Good Mammoth Swine.
クレバスにリンゴを投げ込んでからのモスノを大きく撮影。そして、このクレバスの中のクリスタルアを撮影。そしてグライナを華麗にスルーして、ここを祈りポイント。
Very good Piplup, actually.
頼む。よし、OK。ちょっと早かった。サンドパンを撮影。
Alright, looks like they're both getting that Sand Slash. So the Sand Slash that's sort of like digging around in a circle is actually very difficult to hit. So them both getting it and making it look super easy is pretty impressive. Yeah, it looks like we're a bit short, but that's again that is intended. And him being that close to the goal with just 9 pictures is actually pretty surprising. That's very good. Oh, did he miss the spiel? No, he didn't. Alright, we're good. So there are some spiel in the way that you do need to knock out of the way or else they stop you. I'm not sure what he ran into there then. Also, the other thing I didn't mention. So I did mention that cutting off Pokemon on size... Interesting, he goes for Sand Slash. I did mention cutting off Pokemon on size does lose points. But some Pokemon, they just need a... Or rather, you can get the entire body in the frame, or you can just get the face. And if you get just the face, that can count just as as being like full size sort of thing. So a lot of the like more human Pokemon, think Gardevoir, Zangoose. Yeah, the human Pokemon. Trevenant as well is very easy to get. So if you get just the face, it can still count as 2,000 size, which is what they did on that Mammoth one right there. So that's another rule of the game if you want, where it's you want the Pokemon full in size, but if you just take the face, that's good enough.
飛んじゃったのか。飛んじゃいました。
飛んで立つと点数低いんですよね。飛ぶ前の羽を広げたタイミングだといいんですけど。
まあ、クリスタフラワーが取れているので、よし。
で、とりあえずね、洞窟が新たなコースとして開放されました。ストーリーもね、だいぶ終盤まで進んできました。点数を意識して撮影するコース、これが最後ですね。
And there you go. All right. Very good points on the left as well.
ここもね、クリアするだけなら難しくないんですけど。
Yeah, about 3,000 out, so he only needs 2 pictures. So he might actually save time over Caro, who took 3 pictures there. So we'll have to see. Alright, so now it's another tough course. And again, the last few courses, they aren't difficult because of the shots. They're more difficult because you want to get good pictures while also not letting go of the dash engine. Because obviously you want to speed up to save time. So that is where a lot of the difficult parts of these courses come from. Where, you want to set up this Glalie so he's yelling at you. But you also don't want to stop, so you want to do that early enough. You need to hit him from further. You need to hit the Crystal Bloom for the Magikarp that appeared later. And yeah, you have less time, so everything needs to be a lot tighter if you want to get good points, basically. But if anyone's going to do it, both these runners are very good at what they do.
時間削るの難しいんですけど、ロスるのマジで簡単なんで、一瞬でタイムなくなるんで、ちょっと再走したくないので、安全策取ります。で、石つぶて取って、ラムパルド取りました。ここにも化石ポケモン。なんででしょうね、N 回目。で、最後にクロバットを取って、撮影終わります。
This is also the last course that we actually need points. So after this, we're sort of gonna relax on how many pictures we take. So hopefully, both these guys get through first try. I think there's only been one re-enter, or one unintentional re-entry rather. Yeah, both these guys are playing really good. So very much props to them.
バチュルこの固まってんの可愛いよな。バチュルっていうポケモン自体結構可愛いポケモンだとは思うんですけど、ポケモンの中でもね、有数のちっちゃいポケモンです。で、4700。
And again, you could be safe here. Like here, there's Carbink you can take as a backup. For example, there's Noibats, but every extra Pokemon is still a couple seconds, like 8 seconds or something, especially for new Pokemon. So. Don't necessarily want to take all the extra pictures.
このゲンガーの点数もなんか安定しないんですよね、僕多分。
なんか結構メロディーが速すぎると点数が低くなる説はあります。
ああ、そういうこと？なんかね、そこもね、多分ね、ハイスコアとか狙ってる人に聞けばいいんだろうけど、詳しく知らないよな、そこの。
2回目の2号。で、グオを撮影して、ポイティーム撮影からのウォーグルどこ？ OK。ウォーグルどこは発言としてまずいな。RTA。で、こっち向いてる。いいね。
で、ここのステージは珍しく、なんかね、ストーリー進行のイベント挟
んで。Oh no. So, on the left there, Krogunk does an animation where his cheeks puff up. It's random, but that's a really good pose. But Kujia ended up scanning him, which he'll lose a bit of points on. It's going to be like less than 500 points, but I think he just reacted to that a bit too slow. Pikachu. Unfortunately, Pikachu's not in the ending levels. He was earlier, though. He was in Beach.
多分大丈夫だと思う。
Very cute Pokemon.
今回闇ラミ抜いてるんですけど、まあ
We
大
like
丈夫
Pikachu
か
out
な
here.
って感じですね。
So again, just like Underwater and just like Volcano, they do need to get through the end of the level 2 path. So we'll see Calio here just take a right here instead. Thankfully, this one is a lot shorter because there is the dash engine, so we're not spending too much time here, thankfully.
もうちょっとね、グレックルに時間か割くと、結果的に短縮になるパターンもあるんですけど、結局こっち向いてくれずに、時間そのまま丸ごとロスることもあるんで、最近、あいつへのこう期待度が低い節がある。で、ここを抜けるとね、不思議な水晶がたくさんあって、今正面にでっかい水晶が天井に張り付いてますね。まあ、この辺りはね、メレシー
Ooh, very nice. 5,000 points on that Glalie is very good.
今、ジャングル模様のビビオンも飛んでましたね。で、ここにゴールと古代遺跡が見えてきました。まあ、ここにも古代遺跡があって、これはイルミナポケモンが出てきそうな雰囲気がありますね。
次は何ですかね。
初見の方、次のイルミナポケモンは何なのか、ぜひね、予想してみてください。撮影が終わったので、とりあえずね、撮影が終わったので、撮影したとは言ってる。
よっしゃね、プラス460。
おお、いいっすね。
And we're good on points as well.
僕よりもちゃんと RTA らしい。
Again, cutting it close, you made it by 600 points.
クリアすることができました。リトライ大事。
ここすぐリトライできるようになったのもバージョン2.5
But
のいいところで。
if you're confident in yourself, which, I mean,
アピールしていきましょう。
there's no reason not to be, if they're as good as they are, then cut it close, save the time. I mean, it makes me stress out, but you know, other than that, that's about it. Sounds good, Clyde Frog. Thank you for stopping by. There's more runs throughout the week if you want to stop by to watch the RTA In Japan stuff. They do really good stuff. But if not, then thank you for watching. Alright, so if you've been keeping track, we've seen 4 Illumina Pokemon, or 5 if you count 2 Volcarona, and now we see another Illumina Pokemon, which is number 5 or 6 depending on how you're counting. Most people would say 5 though. So the math on that is wrong. We've been lied to. Yeah, for Steelix, the best place to get him is right at the end. But the window to get him is actually sort of tight, where if they want to go as fast as they can, it is a bit risky, so we'll see if they decide to zoom past and save the few seconds, or if they just slow down a tiny bit for the pictures. Luckily, we do have the dash engine, so again, this course is a lot shorter than the other ones. Also, in general, it's just shorter.
この RTA の後の、ね、タイトルはポケットモンスタークリスタルハガネールもね同じく金銀クリスタルで初登場したポケモンですがこれは何かの偶然なので
Alright, so he should show up right around the corner here.
ということで、
逆の構図になってしまいました。
逆の構図になってしまいましたね。で、コースの終盤まで来ました。ここでね右を向くと、穴があってここでからねハガネールが登場します。ここのハガネールに、
Yeah, there he is. And does not look like he's letting go of the dash engine. Alright. So he had maybe, you know, a 4-second window. Also, Steelix goes back into his cave if you don't take the picture fast enough. And you do still need to hit him with the Illumina Orbs. So it's a bit tight, but no slowing down. Calilio is very, I mean, again, he's good. He's confident in himself. There's no reason for him to stop himself out here. An excellent host. I appreciate that. Thank you. I'm glad people are enjoying it. I'm glad people are willing to listen to me nerd out about this game for 2 hours, but you know, I do what I can. Alright, it's a little cutscene at the end here. And for story purposes, it is pretty interesting. Where, you know, the professor had a theory that the meteor created the Pokemon, but here we can see a mural of the Illumina Pokemon being there when the meteors were striking. So the professor was wrong, but they do sort of want to investigate because there's, or rather, they thought there were 4 Illumina Pokemon. This one shows 5, and then something in the middle that just has been damaged over time. So now the end of the game is very much figuring out what's in the middle there. Also, this island was allegedly uninhabited. It's never been discovered before, but there's a giant emblem on the floor, which is the same emblem that the professor has in his research center. So there's a bit of a disconnect there on whether there have been no humans on this island before or not. Also, man-made mural, but it's Pikachu. It's Pikachu's not the last Illumina Pokemon. That would be pretty neat though. But it is not our boy. He does show up a lot though. Actually, one of my favorite pictures in this game is in Beach. You can get Pikachu that's riding a Mantine. It's very cute.
研究のね、持論があるんですけど、今ね、鏡博士の研究の、なんでしょうね、予想っていうんですかね、そういう部分が否定されて、ね、とてもナイーブな気持ちになっているようです。でそんなナイーブな鏡博士放置して帰ります。お
私もここから行きますか。鏡博士はもともとイルミナポケモンは隕石が落ちたことによる衝撃によって誕生した、その隕石がもたらしたエネルギーによって光るようになったんじゃないかっていうふうに予想していたわけですが、ここの壁画によってね、隕石衝突前にイルミナポケモンおるやんけということが分かってしまったので、ガチへこみしてますね。
言い伝えの通りで鏡博士の、ね、予想は外れてしまいましたと。
Right, so the end of the game, as far as progression goes for runs, it is a bit different than the rest of it. There's more like things to do as opposed to Pokemon to take. We don't need to get to level 2. It's the only level in the game where we don't need to do that to progress, which is in Ruins, which we'll get to pretty soon. But here the professor's just explaining, there's high energy readings since you activated all the Illumina Pokemon, and they're all pointing to this one island. That is exactly where we're going.
これがきっとファイナルラスト探検ですね。
ファイナル調査。
ファイナル調査。で、ここではね、先ほどの壁画への感想と次のコースである遺跡のね、話をしています。先ほどね、ちらっと触れた内容なので適当にね、進めていきます。残すところあと2ステージでこの遺跡というマップと
They don't do anything. So for like a game making perspective, I think they were there so that kids could have sort of characters they can associate to. So Rita is for the little girls and Phil for the boys. Rita's the professor's assistant, and she's actually sort of useful. She does teach you how to use the items. Phil, on the other hand, is pretty useless. Phil doesn't do much. We'll leave it at that. So anyways, we're in Ruins, and we do need to get the Illumina orbs first before we can actually do anything, but we don't need to take any pictures. Interesting. Okay, so he looks to the left there to drift a bit, so he doesn't get stopped by the Houndoom. That Houndoom is you get stopped by it a lot. But anyways, we need to do one pass through to get the Illumina orbs, and then we'll be able to complete the puzzle here. Which is pretty cool. Alright, so while we have last bit of downtime, so I want to shout out a few things. So first of all, the Pokemon Snap community, there's a lot of cool guys in there, guys and gals. A lot of cool guys and girls in there. Some are very, they've done a lot of research in this game, and they've really, pinpointed and helped out on the whole routing and stuff. So big shout outs to all those guys. Bunch of really cool runners. If you guys are interested, I would join. It's a really cool thing. The Discord's for both this game and the first game, so if you're interested in the first one more, people are there. It's really cool. The Japanese community, obviously these two guys, and there's a few other Japanese runners that are also pretty good. And they're also in the Discord. Some of them are a bit more active. Actually, Kuji is one of the active ones, I should say. And they also help, they do their own research and they try to, bridge the gap between translating, especially because, Japanese players have their own strats. One of them we're actually going to see later is the biggest discovery pretty recently, which I won't spoil. But, Kujia's... Actually, I think Carolio is one of the people who worked a lot on it, and Kujia translated it for us. So these two guys specifically, shout outs to them, but also for the run that they're showing us. Thanks for SpeedGaming and RTA In Japan, obviously, for the, first of all, marathon, and second of all, the restream. So they do a very... as far as commentary goes, this was, very streamlined. I very much enjoyed the minimal amount of hassle. So very, very nice to have a good system. And yeah, thank you all for watching. I hope you guys have enjoyed this so far. Alright, and on the left, even though it doesn't look like he's going fast, he is still using the dash engine. It's just slow in some areas. It is all good. I like being here. I mean, I woke up at 8 o'clock for this, where, I'm on vacation. So I'm definitely here because I want to be, not because not because I was asked to. Morning for me. Well, daytime, I guess. It's almost noon. But it'll be good times. For the last part, though, so there's 5... So actually, if you look on the left, there's sort of a bloom garden that's just passed by. And you can't light those because you need specifically the orbs of that flower's color. And for some reason, the orbs only work on their island. There's some story reason behind that. But there's 5 orbs that are, light yellow or golden, whatever you want to call it, that we can light earlier. So he is actually going to snipe the golden there. That's for later. But then you basically just need to hit the 5 flowers here. So a couple of them are pretty easy. The last 2 are the ones that are a bit more difficult. But specifically sniping that Golurk, I forget who came up with that. I don't want to miscredit anyone. I know someone came up with the setup for that, which saves a bit of time because you don't need to wait for the Golurk to move. No, don't miss that one. All right. Almost missed that one, but we're good. And then getting the 4th one, and usually Golurk stands right in front of this last flower. But with the snipe, which is harder than it looks, but Carolio did it pretty good. He was able to get through it fine. And if all 5 are illuminated, then we can unlock the secret exit. And that's how we get to the final boss. This is the Elevator of Light. Now again, from a gameplay perspective, first of all, this cutscene's really cool. A lot of the cutscenes are really cool in this game, actually, but this one specifically. From a gameplay perspective, this makes sense, but from a story perspective, it doesn't make sense, because you get to the Elevator of Light, and then the professor's like, oh my gosh, this is so cool. How about you come back to our lab, back to Florio Island, and then you can come back here. So I don't know why you do this zigzag, but for gameplay purposes, it is what it is. You do still need to submit your pictures to the professor, if we took any. Alright, now this is actually going to be pretty interesting, because there is a skip in the last level that saves about a minute, but it's pretty difficult. So if Carolio doesn't get it, that would actually open the door for Kujia to close the gap and possibly take the lead. So it'll be really interesting. I'll talk a bit more when we're actually there. But for now, he's trying to get to the snipe. You'd walk right in? I would walk right in. I mean, put it this way. You went to, like, the deepest parts of the ocean. You went in a live volcano. Like, what's the worst that the pillar flight's gonna do? Good morning, Spicy. Hope you slept well. Oh, no, he missed it. No. All right. Okay, notice in time. Okay, I thought he was further than he was. He was fine. I was stressing out for nothing. Let's see. All right, it's slowing down a bit for the shots. That's honestly a pretty good idea, because if you miss those, it's very, very bad. There's no backup if you miss these flowers. Alright, but on the right, the last cutscene. If you played Gen 6, you know who the last Lumina is. With the whole Tree of Life thing. I think I just spoiled it. Alright, but this is Illumina Pokemon number 6 out of 4. Someone messed up their counting. It's Sunkern. Actually, one of my friends thought that it was Sudowoodo originally, because it was a tree, and I'm like, Sudowoodo's literally in another level. We've already seen him. But no, it is Xerneas. Sorry, my voice is getting a bit raw. I've been speaking for 2.5 hours. And one of the more interactive Luna Pokemon, so it sort of is a throwback to Mew from the first game, where you actually have to hit him before you take a picture. Although even then you had to do that with Volcano, so I'm not sure if it's just, they wanted to make it a bit unique. Sorry? Oh, that one. It's Xerneas. Alright, so the strat here is, and this is actually, so the skip I was talking about, there's a cutscene at the end that is, you can skip, but it's pretty precise. We actually found it in version 1.0, and it was sort of consistent, but then the DLC dropped. And basically there's 3 holes on the ground, and now it's random which hole it pops out from. And we thought that it was random to the point that it didn't work anymore, but Caro was actually the person who really, dove and investigated it and looked into it pretty thoroughly and found that it was possible, actually. And he's worked a lot on getting that consistent, so we'll see if he gets it. Unfortunately, you can't really know until you get to the cutscene, so we'll have to see. So if we see the cutscene, we'll see it. If we don't see the cutscene, it means he got it. But if we don't see the cutscene, it might have been because he missed it and he'll actually have to redo the course. So we don't want that to happen. So, alright, he gets this orb. So, and the way this works, as far as we know, is that you're supposed to throw an orb to Xerneas to get him to illuminate, and then take the picture. And that makes it count, but when he just spawns, he sort of glows a bit, and that also counts as an illuminated picture. And it looks like he's actually going to skip the cutscenes. That's actually really good. There are not a lot of people that have gotten that in runs. So now the question is the picture going to count? And we need to see a little red exclamation point. And we're good. Alright, so he's fine. He got out of there. So there you go. That was a very good cutscene skip. So again, not a lot of people can do that. It is a lot more difficult than he makes it look, which, I think is one of the... Well, I mean, first of all, the game is, more difficult than it looks, but also that sort of is a testament to why he's as good as he is. Made 2 Pokemon to look like Y. Yeah. Yeah, I mean... I think he's supposed to have his legs open and then look like an X, but even then, he never does. Alright, now Kujia's also practiced this a bunch. I am sort of interested in seeing him do this. But before that, so we're getting to the end of the game. If anyone is worried about story spoilers, just mute for a bit, because I will be saying a bit of spoilers. So they're like, oh, Xerneas was, the thing in the middle of the mural. We actually see the mural actually on the left right now. You can see it sort of behind the pillars. And Xerneas is there, and it's like, oh, that's the last Luna Pokemon. It's great. That was, the Pokemon that helped the other Luna Pokemon protect us from the meteor. And then they sort of just, I guess they didn't know where to go, so they're like, but wait, why could you see all the Illumina Pokemon. And then Rita is like, because Pokemon know when you really like them, and that's the end of the story. And it just sort of ends. I was personally a bit disappointed from that when I saw it the first time. But
ここじゃない。ここ。
yeah, really good one. Just barely under 232.
え、待て、待て、待て、待て。まずい、まずい、まずい。
That's 45 seconds from his personal best. That's really good. No, is he zooming too much? Uh-oh. No, Kujiya, no. All right, I think he was zooming too much. He was trying for the cutscene skip.
ここ、リトライできるんですが、リトライすると、最初のムービーをもう一回見ること
I was about to tell you to unmute.
終了します。しまったな、これ。
That's actually really unfortunate. 234. If he got that, he actually would have PB'd by like a minute. That is ridiculous. That is actually so unfortunate.
こうしてたら自己ベだったな。
That was really good.
で、リトライを
But sometimes you gotta risk it for a biscuit. But honestly, even then, like super good showing from Kujiya, who should have PB'd if the game liked him. Sometimes those are the cards you're dealt. And yeah, 232 in a race is actually really ridiculous. That's, again, 45 seconds from his PB, which is the record. So, you know, if consistency is anything, like, you know, I think it speaks for itself.
ちなみにこのゼルニアススキップなんですけれども、もともとは
Alright, where's he going now?
発見したもので、まあ、バージョン 1.3 とかの時にすでに発見されてました。ただですね、
Snow day. Alright. What's he showing us?
また最後のステージっていうことで、
Alright, I wonder if we're actually gonna go for the cutscene skip a second time or not.
難しかったんですが、この条件をね、検証して、
Oh, okay, they're going down the alt path. Alright.
確立させたのはここのキャロさんです。
They're just unlocking the split path here. Alright, more importantly,
つもりでいます。よろしくお願いします。やべえ、つんびゃにめっちゃ引っかかってるって。
キャロさんやってますね。
そうやってますね。で、ここで見つけて。
so it looks like he's gonna set up the cutscene skip again.
博士に見せる。
ここでもない。ここでもない。そうしたらちょっと今。
There's 4 holes. I thought there were only 3. Alright, I learned something new here. No, please. That's... That is heartbreaking. This course is not friendly. Oh, actually, I had the Japanese chat open for a while, and they were posting the Suicune emoji a lot. I think that's what Kelly is gonna go for. Alright, so maybe, theory, Kujiya's throwing just so there's more screen time for Kelly to show Suicune. I'm not saying that's the case, but like, maybe? I don't know, they're both like, you know, severely underestimated, so if they spent another 5 minutes just messing around, you know, I don't think the people in charge of the schedule would mind.
僕側じゃなくて工事屋さんの方を見てもらうのが正しいのでは。
あ、じゃあいい感じになんか途中でストップしてもらってたら。
そうですね。Strategic move.
僕の方はとりあえず雪原
They're throwing for content.
の分岐ルート開放してね。ちょっとね最後に験担ぎポケモン見に行こうと雪原夜にね向かってます。で、ここね、雪原夜って分岐の条件めちゃくちゃ多くて、なかなかね初見ではわからなかったっていう方多いんじゃないでしょうか。大丈夫そうですかね。
Right.
これで、どこに出た？どこに出た？
What? You hit it? Are you joking?
知らないパターン引いた。知らないパターンばっかり引いてる。
工事屋さん、最後のムービー見ないか？
Like, I'm upset for him.
ムービー見た方がいいですね、これ。あ、しかもリトレイ押すの間違えた。やってるな、これ。
これはね、さらに、僕の方は、ちょっとね、験担ぎの方がね、早く来ちゃいそうなんですけど、雪原夜で、魔剣カニを刺激して、それがね、雪の王に、被害を及ぼす。
Yeah, I know there was, like, the orb even, was glowing. That was really unfortunate. That last section is a bit It's weird. It's finicky. Finicky is the good word. But yeah, that was robbery. The game's just out here cheating him out of finishing. Alright, so one thing about this game, which is, in my opinion, pretty good, is that it does open up a lot of things. Alright, so he's gonna get the cutscene. He's saying, Xerneas took a few bites out of him and the wounds are showing, so can't blame him there. No, he's gonna miss Suicune. Alright, well, that was Suicune. Bonus stage? Yeah, I think he's just showing off. So after you beat the game does unlock a few things. So one of them's burst shot, so you can take 6 shots instead of 1, which is really useful in some cases. But also all the legendary Pokemon. Oh. Alright, there you go. That's Suicune. Just hanging out. So yeah, a lot of legendary Pokemon get unlocked. I think there's like 11 or something. So there's almost one per stage area type thing. So Jungle Day and Night have the same legendary, for example. So although there's 30 courses, there's only so many different ones. But yeah, there's Suicune. I hope y'all like the water dog. And yeah, so on the left, this is the Xerneas cutscene that we did miss because there was the skip earlier. But again, the cutscenes in this game are very well made, in my opinion. Very aesthetic.
本番の魔物っているんやねっていうそういう気配ありますね。
まあまあまあでも成功パターンもお見せできたんで、そういう意味では良かったということにしましょう。
結果オーライということにしていきましょう。
Alright, well, we're gonna mash through the last bit of text, and then the timer is gonna be done. So that will pretty much be it for me, I believe, unless these guys are gonna play more, in which case I will be more than happy to talk more about this game. But other than the few flubs at the end, super close race. Again, Kujia's time, his PB is, not representative of his skill. He could definitely improve. Actually, that run would have been 4th place if he had gotten the skip, which is sort of insane. And obviously, Carulio, 45 seconds from his record. That's, it's better than the 3rd place time. So there's only one runner who has done something this good, or one other runner rather. So, very impressive on his part. Goes to show why he's the best. And hopefully we see more of Kujia, because he, definitely has the potential to keep climbing. And more competition in this game is pretty neat. I hope to see more of it. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed this game. I hope you guys continue to enjoy the marathon, because these guys put on some really good runs. I think there's more Pokemon right after this, Pokemon Crystal, if my memory serves. Which actually is ironic that, Suicune's on the screen right now, box legendary. So if you guys stick around for that, I know I will. But hopefully you guys enjoy, and enjoy the rest of the marathon. If you guys are interested in running these games, again, the Discord's open for everyone. There's a lot of helpful people in there. So hopefully you guys appreciate it. Again, really good race, really close race, despite, what the ending time might seem. It was a good race. I had fun. I hope you guys did too. And yeah, most importantly, thank you all for watching.
まあ十分満足いく安定取った割には満足いく皆さんにね楽しんでいただける走りできたんじゃないかなと思います。今回めちゃくちゃねカンペとか作って気合い入れてやってきたんでうまくいってよかったです。そんなところですかね。コージエさんいかがですか？
まあそうですね、だいぶちょっとひどい走りをお見せしてしまったなというところなんですが、ちょっとね、自己ベストの記録の動画などもね、これから編集して、各種動画サイトに上げていこうと思うので、ぜひそちらの方をね、見てね、 で、RTA に興味持たれた方はね、ぜひ我々に連絡していただければ、チャートの共有などいたしますので、ぜひぜひ、ご連絡をお待ちしております。その RTA、我々2名しか。
Alright, so I was right. Pokemon Crystal up next.
海外の人結構多いですけどね。日本人。
Oh, actually, I think if you guys are sticking around for the English restream, both the commentators are very, very good. I know I'm gonna mispronounce his name, Amoba. First of all, it's from the UK, so I love his accent. Second of all, knows a lot, very knowledgeable about Pokemon, so that should be a really cool one to watch. Also, Swiftalu, although I don't know them, I do know that they've been around a lot, so I'm sure they're super knowledgeable about the game. I'm pretty pumped to watch that run, in my opinion. Wait, Snow Dayton.
補足するとね、ハイスコアやってる方結構いて、まあ私の観測範囲でもまあ20人。
Pronunciation was close enough? Excellent, thank you.
なかなかね、その調査レベルというシステムのせいで、ハイスコアと RTA が結びつかないんですよね、このゲーム。なのでね、まあハイスコアはちょっと手出して。
Yeah, lots more to come from the marathon until pretty much New Year's Eve. So, hopefully you guys keep enjoying it. I know there's a few runs I'm looking out for. Fire Emblem tonight's also one that I want to watch, which should be pretty good.
今回 RTA In Japan にね関わってくださった関係者の皆様並びにね見てくださったね視聴者の皆様本当にねここまでお付き合いいただき
Oh wait, maybe they're giving Kuja a few minutes to I mean, he definitely likes Mulga, so maybe we'll see some Mulga out here.
まあ、RTA In Japan ねここから先もね、ガンガンね続いていきますんでぜひぜひね
Oh no, I think they're just saying their goodbyes. All right, well. In that case, I believe it is time for me to do the same. Oh wait, Bomberman 64 tomorrow. Or in 2 days, rather. All right, well, I will definitely be around then. And I hope you guys will too. So thank you all for watching. And I will catch you next time.